All right, green citations on my beloved airborne simians, my dear flying monkeys, and what up to visiting sports fans? You know what I'm thinking right now. I am Giovanni Cerrucci. Those that know and love me call me Johnny. Those that fear and hate me pretend I don't exist, like my dear friend Amanda Volmer and my more dear friend Andy Luck Kaufman. This is Resistance Rising, and I am pleased to be with my wearing my Borgia Bull T-shirt today. I am not a Borgia. Nor do I have any affinity for the Borgias. It's just a very comfortable shirt, and I do like to disrupt shit. With a new friend, Mark, who is not a disruptor. He is, I call him Chosen Kingdom Mark. I call him Mark the Whistleblower. He got in touch with me, and I looked up his stuff, and I was like, I like the cut of your jib. Let's talk. Let's chat, shall we? And he's been doing a lot of work on with his own show, and so. We've been spending about our previous, why we're 15 minutes late, talking to each other offline. I'm like, okay, we need to just kick this in relation to the information that he's got. He's been digging enough where there's been threats on him, and he said, okay, hey, I am blessed to be able to work out of my home and do this in my spare time, and I am too. But my job is, so I flipped. I tell people real quickly. Italian Roman Catholic and conservatard right wing, and that pointing me towards a career in the military. 30 years later, underachiever, absolutely miserable, and helped me to be a disenfranchised ex-Marine. I go out of my way to say ex-Marine. Oh, it's a former Marine. Go stick it up your ass. Ex-Marine and former soldier. Enlisted an officer and just a miserable experience. So I never thought I got out and went back in. I got out and landed a great job and went back in to the military and got out again. And at that point, shockingly, crazily, surprisingly, all the great jobs that were there for me the first time around had dried up and disappeared. And so back in the 90s, right about the time that I became born again, on January 16th, 1994, I was also blogging and learning how to debate and writing for the university newspaper, and that put me on the path to being a journalist, and the very proud of my method of operation, which is names, places, and dates. Don't ever have an opinion. Have somebody else have somebody of repute say your opinion for you, and that's what I do. And I learned that in the 90s in college, having to defend myself incessantly, being a right-minded, patriotic conservatard, mind you, not awake at the time, but in higher education, overwhelmed by the far left by design. And so I never thought that I would. I talked to my wife, and I had put her through. She was doing performance music because it's what she wanted to do, and I was in the military, and I was paying all the bills. Like, hey, do whatever you want to do. Is that what you want? Do what you want to do. And so she, as I was struggling to get a decent job, I mean, dude, I did everything really, and it makes no sense. Okay, even though I had a shit time in the military, the resume is good. The resume is solid. I didn't get drummed out unless you know what you're looking at. Little things like they ignored my service award. When you get out permanently, they look at your whole career and they give you an award just based on your service. End of service award, I believe they call it. You know, the fuckers ignored it. They just passed over it. They my final 214. They wanted me to sign. Clearly, this was the military and me back to the military. So, I never thought, and I told my wife there, I said, listen, I really enjoy this, what I do, the journalism and all this, but there's absolutely no money in it because it's the truth. I'm not going to be manipulated. I'm not going to work for anybody. I want to focus on what I want to focus on. And there's no money, there's no analytics, there's no sponsors, no nothing. So I cannot do this. So, she, God love her, did a career change, and to spite me, she went to a Catholic school. But it's not to spite me. She that was the opportunity. That's where the opportunity was, and she went from music performance to a real career of healthcare, a real health career, not one of these Rockefeller butchers, cut, poison, and burn. But she went into that's actual healing. Of course, there's no big money in it, but there's enough to pay the bills. And while she's doing that, I'm being Mr. Mom. I'm Michael Keaton, Roman Catholic Michael Keaton. I'm being Mr. Mom at home, and no intention of doing that at all. No intention. There is something on this. I'm gonna burn it off. No intention of doing that, and it costs us, dude. It costs us a bankruptcy for us to swap roles, for me to be Mr. Mom and her to be the breadwinner. But that's where I'm at now, where we're blessed to live in an environment where she can keep our heads above water, and I keep the house from burning down, and I have the ability to have a house full of pets that normally there's no way. But with my constant care and me making sure that, like I said, I just clean the cat poop, clean the dog poop, make the bed, all that stuff, and I do that for her, and she pays the bills, and she buys me guns. And I have a trickle. Go to johnnycerruccio.com, go to the far right, because that's where you're far right. Support tab, PayPal, Vatican, Venmo. Give Johnny some love. Nothing is paywalled. Freely have I received, freely do I give back. And so let me just show. So that's back. What do you do? Okay, so there we go. Another 10 minutes. What do you do? All right, brother. And I absolutely despise, because you reached out to me. I'm not as prepared as I normally am. I usually go deep dive for guests, and it absolutely incenses me. It is the every host out there goes, well, tell us about yourself. No, that's your job, snacker. But in this case, Mark, you are going to have to give your background and explain
Beautiful.
how you got here.
Beautiful. Johnny, can you hear me? And thanks for
Raymond
having
Charlie.
me
Yep.
on.
You got it.
I reached out to you because I saw a show that you had done recently, your most recent one, I guess. How many weeks ago is it now? It's like 2 weeks ago that you did this show that I watched, and I was like, wow, this guy is really on the stuff, and I've never seen him before. And I'm deep in for the last 4 years. I'm deep in. For the last 8 years, I'm significantly deep, right? And so for me not to have seen your work, I just couldn't believe it.
Mark,
right?
you got to back up, bigger picture than that. Back up. How did you even start on the path of deep investigation?
Thank you. So let me start off by saying, what I'm here to do today, and then I'll take you there, right back to the beginning of who I am, and then take you, where I think we were headed today with our initial interaction. Because it all ties in, just like everything else. It's simply incredible what we're facing here with Jesus and what he's presenting to us. So my goal for today is to expose the Bible as the Word of God, simply. And we are effectively sort of today, while I was thinking about, we're effectively this thing, the collective, essentially created the Bible from his word. All of this is happening because of him, right? All of it, the good, the bad, all of it. So my goal here today is to make every one of your listeners understand that Jesus thinks you're special. And it's why you're here listening to this show here today, is because we're about to prove to you that God is listening, and you should be speaking to him and asking him for the answers, because, it appears to me both Johnny and I have done this in our lives, and the proof comes with the story I'm about to tell you about who I am and what's happened over these last few years. And the significant event to keep you guys watching is that Johnny had asked me, he's like, what do you mean you're a whistleblower? To him, that meant that it's somebody who had been involved with the wrong people and decided to go ahead and, tell on them, right? To be a rat.
Come clean. Yeah.
As far as we're we're both, sort of Italian style, New York style, that would be called a rat, right? And so the answer to that is no, and the answer is yes, because I believe in being a rat for Jesus.
There's a
You,
T-shirt in there somewhere.
there you go. And so the unusual part of that is I'm actually born a Jew. And so we'll go right back to there is like,
You just came home. That's all. You just came home.
yeah, that's it. I believe that every single one of us is about to make a journey to figure out who Messiah is. And I'm just one of the early arrivers. And so this journey starts off with, and let me just go in here. I'm a Jewish kid from Long Island. I come from a divorced family. My family divorced when I was 3, really broken. And right before that, I want to build a picture for everybody to bring us into the future of what's going on today. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself so you understand what a transformation this is, because the thing I'm whistleblowing on is the FBI set up 2020, and I caught them in the act before January 6th, reported on it among my peers. There's 200 people that know this is the truth. And
Set up what in 2020, Mark? The scamdemic or the? You can say
well,
you can
the
say
scam.
I've long been evicted from
Yes.
any place, so you can say whatever it is that you want to say.
Very simply, and then I'm going to take you back here, but I'm going to keep it very simple. I infiltrated the Proud Boys in the summer of 2020 during the Summer of Love because I was hearing that they were against Jews. I was a Jew at the time, still, in my mind, right? Even though I didn't practice, I was a Jew in my mind. And so my kids have a Jewish last name, and I'm thinking people are going to attack them living here in the tri-state region. I'm not going to have people attacking my kids for their name when they don't even know what they believe.
Praise God.
Right?
Pause right here. Pause right here. And for people like you and your family, okay? This is where I get incensed over the mindless Jew baiting and Jew hating that is going on right now by design. The machine, the Jesuit Roman whore of Babylon machine, is feeling the hounds, the breath of the hounds breathing, and I'm just making. I give myself chills. The breath of the hounds on the back of her neck, and she is grabbing every patsy she can and shoving them in the limelight, and she is manipulating the biggest frauds out there. I name them over and over again. Stu Peters, the bold ones, Kenny Kanye West, over and Candace Owens, but Candace Bergen Owens, her convert Catholic, right? And Kenny West comes out, and I'm mispronouncing his name on purpose, comes out with a T-shirt with JP2 on the T-shirt, right? Who's really behind Kenny Yee West? So the Jew baiting and Jew hating. Whitney Webb. Oh, Whitney Webb goes on the Glenn Beck show. I wouldn't be surprised if I looked her up and seen that she was on Rogan. Okay, she is, and just there's been one of my researchers thinks that she's a pedophile. She's connected to pedophilia. We don't have anything hard on that, but it makes sense.
By the way, Johnny, all these people are super smart. They have been chosen for these positions, and it's because how do I know this? How do you know this? Because they were approaching all the people around me. Once they realized I wasn't joining the club, they tried to infiltrate. We're going to take you all back here, but I want to focus on that main point so your listeners stay around, my listeners stay around. And I got to send out your links to understand why I joined this fight and what's so important about me, because I'm not important at all, but what I found out of this whole thing with Jesus is an important message for everybody, and within that we win. And so in the summer of 2020, I infiltrated the Proud Boys thinking that, hey, these can't be the people who are anti-Semites. To make the long story short, at this moment in the story, I'm going to say I led the Proud Boys to D.C. twice, and I pointed out that the president of the Proud Boys was a paid member of the FBI for 10 years.
Wow.
And the one that I was currently with was at least for about 5 years since an incident in New York City. We can go through that all on another time, maybe when you come on my show, right? But the fact of the matter is in the chat on Telegram for the Proud Boys in New Jersey, 200 people on know that I blew them up. My name for them is Brockett, and the FBI knows me as Brockett. And so what happens is I blew up the president. They kicked him out. They called off all of going to January 6th because of it. That was on December 21st and 22nd of 2020. And the Proud Boys called off going to January 6th because of that, because they knew that people knew that they were infiltrated, and it was obvious at that point. And then finally, if you don't believe me, just go look at the president, Enrique, and see what he got caught doing 3 days before and what was in his bag. And you'll know that it was all a setup and he knew what was going on. So
Enrique Tarrio, isn't that the same piece of shit that, pardon my language, the same piece of shit that like domestic abuse and wives and children and girlfriends and being a real pig? Surprise, surprise, he was a compromised. I'm sure I've got an entire folder on this turd, and a Hispanic Roman Catholic, I'm sure as well. Let me look at him up real quick. Yeah, I could see how that would be. Yes, I could see how that would be actually more unusually dangerous for you to have the courage to do, Mark. So
let me now that you know, like, what my goal is here is to expose the fact that the politicians set up 2020 to make Donald Trump lose, and maybe to make all this happen and have him win back right now, and what is going on, because you can have some hope, but if you know the Bible, things are sort of playing out in a certain way and bring some things to question.
Oh, you mean hope that we'll be rescued by Donald Trump?
Well, hope that I don't say rescued. I say that he chooses. That's why my show is called The Chosen Kingdom.
If he does, he'll be breaking ranks with everything that has him thoroughly blackmailed. Okay, all you got to do is look up his background and see his Jesuit training at Fordham, and then his secret Jesuit training at University of Pennsylvania. Look up Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump, inappropriate. That's all you got to do. She's like 13 years old, and he's taking pictures of her smiling on his lap with a statue of two parrots having sex. So Donald Trump is in no way going to save us. There's no way is he an outsider. He is absolutely controlled.
I'm not claiming one way or the other. This is part of what I've done. So this is later in my story, but effectively 5 years ago, or I should say 3 years ago, on Telegram, I created a group called Down the Road Past the Tree. And the intention was to find the other people who, like you, have tapped into something with Jesus, that we can go back and talk in the back channel and not be distracted by the outsiders, because I noticed that there were outsiders all around me. Trojan horses. Trojans. What's going on here? And so I created this back channel, and it started out with one person. The reason why this happened was someone by the name of Junior Mint Addict, Lord rest her soul, Lori from Texas, maybe my best friend ever, passed away exactly a year ago. And her and I are the most unusual people to have become friends, but effectively what happened on Truth Social was her and I were chatting back and forth, and we noticed that people were ignoring me identifying something really amazing and she would respond to me and we'd go back and forth, and they'd only respond to her and not me. And they were calling her Magi, and they were calling her a sage.
Give me they again. Who's they?
The people who were entering our conversations on Truth Social.
Okay.
And then what would happen is they were calling me Arthur. So her and I go create this back channel, and we start talking, and we're like, this is the craziest thing. As we're talking to them, we're talking behind in the back channel going, these people are absolutely insane. What are they talking about? They're trying to make us think that we're like people from the past. Trying to make us think that we're Arthur and Merlin. And meanwhile, we're actually tapping in to what we believe at this time is Jesus speaking to us, right? And so we start having our digs on the back channel, and I start inviting people in who I think found out what we found, which this is later on in the story, because I really want to go back about me at first, so you guys get a better background as to what. But to get you there, and why I think you should really believe the Bible and believe Jesus is Messiah, is because Junior Mint said to me one day, she goes, Mark, just listen to me. Don't do anything else. Just focus on what I'm going to say to you, because we had been digging together and we had this experience together. And she goes, Mark, just guess my favorite color. Now, we had only spoken to each other on the phone like 5 times. This is her 5th time actually speaking to me. And I go, I can't do that. There's no way, right? And so I say, let me think about it, right? So later on that morning, I call her back, and we start discussing it. And in my head, I'm thinking brown, orange, and then I'm battling back and forth with it in my head.
You said burnt sienna was both.
And all of a sudden I go, yellow. And she goes, you got it. Next second,
that's a weird favorite color. I don't know of anybody that has yellow as a favorite color.
There you go. So if you hear one of my videos, I say, what is that? Less than a 1 in 10 chance of it being yellow. Certainly, right? So now,
yeah. You could go anywhere with that. The number of different shades and colors. If you just go with the rainbow colors, is still pretty strong numbers against it. So
there you go. So now,
do you think that the Holy Spirit was giving you clairvoyance? What do you think was going on?
All right. Well, let me just say, we were on the brink of discussing. Well, later to come in it a little bit was the discussing of Aether, the ability for us, essentially, to communicate through thought, essentially. So let me just explain, because this is a little strange, right? Because
and you think this is related to aspects of the use of Aether, as in electrified atmosphere that's been ignored by science.
Correct.
By the way, before we leave Proud Boy, the effing Proud Boys owe you. They skipped January 6th because you outed Enrique Tarrio.
No, it wasn't Enrique Tarrio that I outed. It was. So here's what the thing is, and we really got to come back to the whole story. The Proud Boys were broken into 2 groups in Washington, D.C. for all the meets before. I led them to 2 of them from New Jersey for the group from the Northeast, which was New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. We all were 1 unit together in D.C. All the other states were another unit in D.C. We did not mix. And the reason being is both sides were infiltrated We thought they were infiltrated. They thought we were infiltrated. But meanwhile, mine was infiltrated as well. And so I was, in the second time I went there, the bodyguard for the president of the Proud Boys, New Jersey, who ran the whole thing. And his name is Danny Mack. And he was from Philadelphia, lives Jersey Shore. And his name was pace setter and everything. The FBI knows all this. So here's the thing, is that once we had all were planning to go to January 6th together as a unit, and what they named after they kicked out Danny Mack, after I exposed it that he was on the payroll of the FBI, he told me $2,000 a month for the last 2+ years at least, right? And so
wait, Proud Boys paid him or the FBI paid him?
The FBI paid him. And so
your money, my money.
That's correct. And so Danny was a good guy in essence, but what he thought was, he thought that he was, so he said to me, he was feeding them information about Antifa. This was not the case. This was not the case. I was very close to him at that point, and while his intentions were to save America, yes, that's the deception that's run on all these guys, Enrique Tarrio and everything. Most of these people have a portion of good intention, and all these people that you mentioned are really smart people. They're digging and they're finding real stuff, right? But the thing is, it's peppered with the other stuff because they're being paid. So you think that you're getting good information because 80% of the time it's good. But guess what? The other 20% of the time, guess who's paying for it? This subverted Republican Party that is the real ones that are running what's going on here and putting the people in place that are, as Johnny put it before, their opus dei. They are absolutely, and it goes into my research, Johnny, please make people go to Chosen Kingdom on Rumble and watch my shows, because you'll see what I did was, again, I showed up in the physical, and I go and I buy things like, let me see if you can see this.
Yep.
Okay. What it is Ahasuerus, right? Which plays into what we're getting into. Daniel here. They mention him in this, right? Believe it or not, I found this, and if my screen was better, I'd show you all the other ones. But in the next town over from me, I went to a yard sale day there into an old Victorian, and he had hundreds of these pictures, and I thumbed through them and I grabbed some. It's amazing what I grabbed. So, and I didn't even know who this was when I grabbed it. That's the amazing part. So let me take you back, because my intention is to get your listeners to understand that this is Jesus Christ, what happened here. So let me take you back all the way. Can I?
You absolutely. Go as far back as you need to go. As a matter of fact, the bigger the picture, the better.
Yep. So I took you back. Jewish kid born in Long Island. Near the bases.
By the way, the reason why I was distracted is a buddy of mine, a co-host of mine, shared with me on Facebook. I'll share it with you here. And I just verified this, that Nathaniel Rothschild, let's see here. Nathaniel Rothschild has a yacht that he calls, Planet 9? And let's see here. First, I'll share the
I'm
post.
posting the show, by the way.
Good.
So
So, a buddy of mine shared this Facebook post with me. There we go. On the flag. Now, I know that on boats that you fly a flag where that's connected to where the boat is registered. But regardless, whether or not this is just a statement or the fact that his yacht, Planet Nine, whatever he calls it, this clown, is an affiliation. So for anybody that doesn't know, that's a Maltese cross that has nothing to do with Christianity and everything to do with the Roman Catholic Church. And it represents the Knights of Malta, and the Templars bore that as well. So
yes,
this is a great post.
Do me a favor. Look up the tattoo of our Secretary of Defense.
Oh yeah. Oh sure. Yeah.
Put it up on the screen for everybody, because I want everybody to really understand. He has a video out there that is
he's a crusader.
It's a joke about it to make fun of it, just like the Freemasons will do, right? They'll joke about it to make you think that it's all about nothing.
My bad.
But it's not. It's
let's see here.
What's his name?
Hegseth. I'm sorry, it's Hegseth.
Hegseth. Yeah. And so, by the way, he's from my town here. He lived here when he was on Fox.
Vance doesn't need a crusader tattoo. Vance is a full-blown Roman Catholic. The Vice President of the United States.
Here's what all of my digging did. Not only did I infiltrate the Proud Boys, but I went around physically around the tri-state area here, and I investigated things. It started off because long before I got the Black Book from Epstein, so I started investigating the homes around here. Okay, here we are. So you know what that is? That particular one? So that is a Knight of the Holy Sepulchre. And so what it means is of Jerusalem. So he is a crusader. That is symbolizing, plus the one on his shoulder is symbolizing that he is a crusader, that he was sent here to rebuild the third temple. So whether or not he knows it or not is up for you to decide.
Right. So
but that is the case.
Before we leave Nathaniel Rothschild, no, obviously, okay, so this is just a meme. Anybody can Photoshop a meme. It's incredibly easy to Photoshop a meme. So I took a minute and looked it up and found this super yacht fan. Oh, by the way, so this person says, okay, gee, what flag is this? It's the Maltese flag, Jesuits. And the first comment from this doofus, riot, whatever. Hey, that's Freemason. I said, what are you, Catholic? That's what the Catholic Church does. It dismisses all of its crimes under the rubric of it's the Freemasons, it's the Jews, it's the Illuminati, it's anybody but the Catholic Church. By the way, okay, here it is. Never trust a silly meme on social networking, and sure enough, Nathaniel Rothschild's Planet Nine yacht runs a Maltese cross flag, which I don't know. Does it mean that the ship was registered in Malta, or is that he's just letting everyone know? So you look up the internet and it's Rothschilds and Jews and Zionists and Rothschilds. And here's a guy that says, Rothschild, red shield. Who carried the red shield into battle for Rome? Roman soldiers did. I regularly recommend Frederick Tupper Saucy #3's excellent book, Rulers of Evil, where he puts to rest exactly who it is the Rothschilds work for. They work for Rome. They are the bankers of Rome, necessary because the popes, controlled by the Jesuits, need to be aloof from usury, which was theirs. They owned it. Their special forces owned it. It was the Templars created usury through the pilgrimages to the Holy Land. So as did the Farnese and
they
the
said
Medici.
they were protecting the money for the people so that they could travel.
Right. All right, pick up where you left off, brother.
Yep, great. So, Jewish kid, grew up in Long Island near MacArthur Air Base. As a matter of fact, just before my parents divorced, my mother always told the story that there was a ship over our house. Never believed her. I always thought it was the 70s and you know, she was on something at the time or whatever.
No, like a
And
spaceship.
yeah, I have never believed in this stuff. Never in my life. To this day, I believe that it's all a Jesuit crazy story, including what's gone on recently that you see in the news. They're
Oh
continuing the
yeah,
lie.
yeah, they really blew it up.
So,
Let me go back to big
so,
picture.
yep. So, when I was older, I wound up being a bit different in school. That I would not, they would say I wasn't paying attention. And so they were doing a lot of studies on me. And these studies led me to believe that I was different. They wanted me to put me on drugs. I was, smoking pot, just hanging out, normal kid stuff. I was an active kid, and I wound up quitting school in ninth grade. End of ninth grade. I wind up to now, I'm an economist. Okay. I went to school, I graduated, I did really well in school, but there was an indoctrination going on that I didn't understand at the time. They were actually studying kids in Long Island for something,
What
is
was the
what I'm
school?
trying to tell you.
What was the school,
I,
Mark?
I went to North Shore schools.
Okay,
Um, s-
sounds very
uh,
Jesuitical because nobody does psychological profiling better than the Jesuits. Nobody does psychological profiling. As a matter of fact, when you go to a Jesuit school, a Catholic school, and they are overwhelmingly in public schools. As a quick aside, I always mention this. Kathy Sesnick, the nun who was attempted to be a whistleblower and then was raped and had her head bashed in, possibly by John Podesta, with the Archbishop Keough School in Baltimore, Maryland, the colony founded by Catholics for Catholics, was in a program. As a matter of fact, real quickly, I will show you, was in a program where Roman Catholic clergy, now, so 50 years after all of the systemic rape of the kids, the trafficking of the kids at Archbishop Keough, where the cops and the prosecutor just completely silent. 50 years later, we will now do a documentary and we'll put it on Romeflix, aka Netflix, and now everybody involved is dead or drooling on themselves, right? Paul, I have a file on Kathy Sesnick. Let me pull up the photograph that you see this in the documentary of Roman Catholic clergy going to public schools in civilian attire and teaching the kids there. And they claim, oh, this was a one-time thing. They just did this one time, just like the CIA. The CIA dealt with mind control. They experimented with it a little bit, and then they walked away from it, right?
This is the same method I call Judaizing, and it has nothing to do with being a Jew. It's just the Jews are the most highly attacked of them. And it's actually, I set up some videos that I wanted to show you some from the things that we spoke about, Johnny, because I think that what it shows is that every single group has been infiltrated. And remember, I was telling you about Charlie Freak, and now he's out there promoting Freemasonry. And here's the thing, is that every single group had the vision that it was going to be good because they were going to be able to hide from the king, right? So I want you to, I'm going to make this really simple for you, right? You're a crusader hiding from the king. He gave you all this land. You're now, the ruler of this particular area. You're making money off of everybody in the area, right? And the king wants a piece of his action, right? So now you have a bunch of boys in your area who are all making money on different things, and you all are closer than you are to the king who's over in England, right? You're sitting here, in the countryside, and you're, wherever it is you are, and that ruler who comes over to you, eventually you start skimming off the top, right? Everyone does it. And now here's what you have. So you have a building of a Jesuit society off of everybody skimming off the top, right? You have to be in the club to skim off the top. Everybody is working off of each other. And the only people that don't get to play are the masses who don't know that this exists. The hidden hand where I help you, you help me. It's understood. We put everything, even our gods. We can have whatever God it is that we want. And so whatever you think about Freemasonry, they say you can be whatever religion you want. Here I am Jewish, and I'm telling you that's not the truth. That is not the truth. The truth is Jesus Christ is Messiah. He already came. It's prophesied what is happening here and what is going to happen. And here we are allowing them to mimic the actual book, the Bible. They're playing it out. That's the funny part here, folks, is they want the same exact thing to happen that the Bible says and that we want to happen. So now you have all the people on our side, supposedly, Johnny. Both you and I are essentially, I grew up in a liberal household, except I've always been a conservative, right? And it just so happened that I didn't feel that way. And it comes in the next part of my story is after I quit high school, I became a transcendentalist. I wasn't anything religiously before that, but I read Emerson and Walden, and I'm thinking that self-reliance. I'm only going to achieve in this life what I bring, right? I believed in a God, but I didn't believe in God. You know what I'm saying? And so I went through a whole life, 50 years like that, to briefly state on the two moments that I didn't realize until I became a Christian what they were. And I became a Christian the week of January 6th. We're going to come to that.
So you were agnostic.
Let
me insert a quick aside in relation to Freemasonry and Christianity. The essence of Freemasonry is join our club and we will grease the wheels for your success. Join our club, give your loyalty to us, and we will make sure you get benefits you would not get any other way.
The proving ground of the enlightened.
The basic premise of Freemasonry, and that's it, whether they admit it or not. That's it. That's the bottom line. Join our secret club and we will get you ahead. We will leapfrog you over your brothers and sisters. We will give you an unfair advantage. That premise alone disqualifies any Christian. Period. That premise alone. You are not allowed to give your oath and your loyalty to anything outside of Jesus Christ. Period. You cannot serve two masters. His words, not mine. You cannot serve two masters. Then
not even your wife. Not even your wife.
Right. What did Christ say? Anyone that wishes to serve mother or father, loves more mother, father, sister, brother, more than me is not worthy of me. He that seeks for his life will lose it. He that loses his life for my sake will save it. And so Matthew chapter 10, just a very, very important chapter, very important passage, even though Stephen Langton was a papist dumbass who didn't know what he was doing when he did the verses and chapters in the Bible. But the fact of you having loyalty to this, basically it's a Luciferian organization, okay? And then you pledging your loyalty, and then you rise through the ranks by proving your loyalty through more and more disgusting acts.
Johnny, what I'm telling you is that my whole life they have been grooming me, and I didn't realize it. I thought it was all just normal things that happened in my life.
Freemasonry is grooming you?
No.
Who's they?
I don't know. The Illuminati.
Luciferian insiders.
Bigger.
Luciferian insiders.
Bigger. Like I said just a moment ago, The Freemasonry is just the breeding ground. It's the grooming place
right.
to make sure that you're qualified to get to the 32nd degree level where they up the game, and then 33 you're in, right? And so once you get to that, then you get the knowledge of the enlightened, which is adepts.
Which costs you, which costs you,
witchcraft.
and what I tell everyone repeatedly is I am absolutely thrilled and proud of the fact that I didn't get naked and allow a brother to bugger me in a coffin to give me access to some of this information. I was gifted by the Holy Spirit to have the discernment to see what I see. I owe no one. I already owe Jesus Christ, and He's giving me even more. I'm already yours. I'm already your bondservant. I already owe you. So there's no new strings attached. I am a willing bondservant rather than a slave, and I brag on that all the time, Mark, of being freely gifted this information, as opposed to giving snippets of truth that are always twisted too. By the way, that always. The machine, the Freemasonic machine, the Jesuit machine, they will twist the truth as they hand it to you and lie to you. Prometheus, the Lucifer, the god of light, he just wanted to give knowledge to human beings, and he was punished by the gods. He was punished by Yahweh. He just wanted to give you knowledge to help you, and now he's got his. He's getting his liver eaten out every day, whatever the ridiculous Greek myth is. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail. Go.
So let me tell you what happened when I became a transcendentalist and didn't know what had actually happened for the next 50 years, which was I went after college. I graduated college. I didn't get the job immediately that I was looking to get. I wound up getting it, and it wound up launching me a career into algorithms, and why you and I are speaking today, because I have a unique ability to compile data in my head and do the formulas of it, that it's part of what my career is now as well. And it allows me to see things from a 10,000 foot level that others might not have the ability to see, if that makes sense. I'm able to put things into pictures from data sets.
Which is a tremendous gift to be able to step back. Gavin McInnes was a co-founder.
Correct.
Are you kidding me? How did I not know?
Not the co-founder. He is the founder.
The founder.
You ready to hear the story?
Knight of Columbus, Mr. Vice magazine. Gavin McInnes is the founder of the.
You ready for this setup? You ready for this setup? Because this is important. It's really important. Okay? So back years ago, 8 years before, I think it was 8 years before January 6th or so, look it up online. The New York Athletic Club, Gavin McInnes, and the Proud Boys get into a fight outside in New York City. It all gets recorded on one of the cameras outside of a store. They got attacked. They fought back. Both sides got hurt. No one got arrested. The Proud Boys gave themselves in. Guess what happened? 2 of them were from New Jersey, and they pinched them hard, went to jail for 5 years. That whole incident was the way the FBI inserted themselves into Danny Mac, Pacesetter's life, and Sean Price. Look these names up, people. Danny Mac, Sean Price. There's only one. There's a one Reuters article that says Danny Mac on it about the Proud Boys, and it disappeared after that. One article.
Yeah, nothing. I did a quick search. Nothing. Is that spell that last name? M-A-C-K or M-A-C?
No, just M-A-C. It's longer than that. I have to reach back to get what the full thing is, but his name is Pacesetter. That's what they knew him as. That's what everybody knew him as. He ruled New Jersey. And so he ruled New Jersey because The FBI put him in charge after New York. This guy was an egomaniac, and I sort of love him. I sort of love him, but he's an egomaniac, and his whole life was the Proud Boys. He was being pinched on the side, getting paid, and being forced to recruit people in New Jersey and Pennsylvania in order to create an uprising to fight against Antifa and eventually go to DC to appear as if we were overthrowing, when that was never the intent of any of these guys. I'm telling you, I spent a lot of time with them. My family thought I was absolutely insane. And then the second time I went to, and we'll get back to Gavin McInnes, the second time I went to Washington, D.C. with them, I noticed again that the scout was incorrectly leading us around, because we were walking around as an army.
What scout?
The scout in my group. We walked.
So what is that?
Think of an army. What is the scout doing?
Okay. So you had an individual whose job it was to have pre-knowledge of the environment, to go out and reconnoiter in front of the rest of the group.
Correct. We all had, so the first trip they had made us, so here's the crazy part, Johnny. Signal. What do you think of it?
Communication, signals, intelligence, communications.
Yeah. Do you think it's secure communication?
The app. Yeah.
Yes.
No, listen, I don't think that anything, even VPNs, they're supposedly designed by the CIA. I don't trust anything is secure.
What if I told you the FBI suggested that we all use it the first time we went in November? Okay. And so we used it, and I noticed that that's the time where the what's his name, the bearded, the noble beard got stabbed in right outside of Harry's in front of the hotel where over 1,000 Proud Boys were staying, and somehow Antifa came in and stabbed one of the leaders. What? Stop it. This is crap. This is all a bunch of preset nonsense. They held.
You talking about Harry Potter star Rob Knox? Who's Noble Beard? I'm trying.
Noble Beard is one of the 5 Proud Boy leaders who were from Florida. So all these guys who went to jail with Enrique, all of them that went to jail with him, were all in the opposing group from me. Okay. We did not mix at all. I actually moved away from anything to do with them as far as hotel or anything. I wouldn't stay with them after that first time because of what happened in the hotel. You know, I'm not really there to be with them. I'm really there to figure out what's going on. And suddenly I figured out what was going on, and it was the FBI, and I told them all. So they all know it's the truth. There are 200 men who know what I'm saying is the truth, and we could go through lists of names. People can go look them up, you know? They're on Telegram now, some of them. I don't interact with any of them, but let me get into the story, because you're going to go crazy with all of this, because it's really so much bigger than just the Proud Boys and 2020 and that, because we're really talking, and you know it, about a Jesuit, you know, overtaking of the world.
Pause. Big picture again. Okay, here's a guy who's Jewish, who's worried about the safety of his family, that infiltrates the Proud Boys and finds out that they are infiltrated, that essentially they are a government operation for the sake of false flags. And this is the same guy that's telling me, above all that are the Jesuits. Johnny, you're right. How have I never seen you before a couple of weeks ago? So just, I had to stop and give a summary of the big picture, because
I'll tell you how you haven't seen me.
No, but both of us. You haven't seen me, and I haven't seen you, and we both know why.
I'm completely blocked. So what I call it is I call it a silo. So basically, I have 22,000 followers on Truth Social. I have about 40 people who see what I do. Same 40 people.
Right.
That's how they do it. They put you in a silo so you think that you're making penetration, but you're not. You're not. My show on Rumble doesn't get seen unless I'm blasting it all day.
Jeff Goldblum has something to say. Boy, do I hate being right all the time.
Can't hear him.
Yeah, it's a GIF. It says, boy, do I hate being right all the time.
Yep. So let me jump back in here for a second. So 3 things happened before I knew. Hold on, I gotta send this to somebody right now.
Sure.
You keep talking because I'm gonna send it because one of our good supporters.
Yeah. So I'm.
Come on. Meaning watching.
I'm devastated of how a guest is coming on and validating everything I'm saying with his personal experiences. Experiences of being involved. I mean, honestly, I've told people all the time, the key to journalism is on-site investigation. The key to journalism is on-site investigation. Anybody can sit in their mommy's basement and get on the internet, and type on a keyboard and be presented what it is that the machine allows you to see. It's the real investigation where you go in person and can.
Johnny, your Jesuit stuff, I've been investigating it in person. I'm in New York. It's a nightmare what has happened here. It's that the people who don't even realize they're a part of it are a part of it.
Oh, compartmentalization, Mark. Compartmentalization.
They're in the Elks and they think they're in a biker club.
Oh my
goodness!
In the
Elks. They think they're fine. That they're drinking buddies. No.
Right. The Elks. Right. So, and I go in and I'm watching. Hang on, Rotary. I'm watching because I grew up Philly Catholic. I grew up on Star Trek reruns and monster movies, like Godzilla monster movies, and
Me too.
And I'm watching, which one is this? Megalon. I'm watching Megalon, and I pause it because I own it. I pause it and I say, what the F am I looking at? What the heck would a Japanese monster movie do? Why the heck would they promote the Rotary Club? Not once. Where's the other one? Come on. Why is it not transfer? Oh, because there's difference.
You have to share other screen, probably.
Yeah, stand by. Not once, and this is different. I'm sorry. That was...
It's all over. When you go into any town here, they tell you what their main organization is. It'll say Freemasons. It'll say Rotary. It'll say whatever. Right.
As you enter the town, they're proud. They brag about it. This one is Cosmic Monster. Is what the heck was it called?
There it is.
What? Why would you? Because these are not truly Japanese. These are run. These are owned. The whole message.
You're not going to believe this. Part of what I put to the side for you, if I do some sharing screen, shows that the Proud Boys symbology is the same thing as the UN, is the same thing as the Bundestag, is the same thing as all these things. The same thing as Subud, which is Obama's cult, his real family's cult. Go look up Subud and show what it is. Do Subud on Google and then look images and look at what you see and show it on the screen, please.
Let's see here.
Subud. And then I'm going to get back into my story, if you don't mind. No, just Subud. And then just do images.
Are you kidding me? Force me to do a puzzle. Are you kidding me?
No. Go back. Go to the top.
Stupid Quant was forcing me to do a...
What's going on? Okay. Don't do secret society. Just do Subud. Enter. Who do you see right there?
Yeah,
Who does
okay.
that? Who does that look like?
What is he? The head of the.
That's the head. That's the guy who started Subud. That's the head. That's Obama's father, right there. Period.
Okay.
Period. You go check it out for yourself. But let me get back into my story. So, three sort of amazing things that happens in my youth after becoming a transcendentalist. One is I go. I told you I didn't get the job that I wound up getting eventually, and coming back from Honduras for, I wind up going to Honduras for 2 months, get extremely sick up in the mountains. These Indian women do this crazy stuff. I have an old guy who took me around to all these things, these caves where Jesus Christ was in the wall. It was amazing. He gave me an amulet when I left, which happens to be the only tattoo on my body, and I hate tattoos. And uh, it winds up that the day I came home, my best friend, Richie Hassan, my whole life, calls me up. He goes, "You're home. I graduated college now." He graduated after me. And he goes, "Come out. We're going out to celebrate." I say no. Long story short, the reason why I said no is because my girlfriend was coming over and I hadn't seen her in 2 months. Um, so she comes over, we go to sleep. She didn't normally sleep over. Middle of the night, I wake up, and it's a really hard thing for me to say, but I was over her, essentially pushing her by her neck into the bed. I freak out, jump up. She jumps up and then goes right back to sleep like nothing happened. I go downstairs in this old Victorian home in Long Island, and I sit on the front porch, and this little bird is tweeting at me in the middle of the night on this cherry tree right in front of my house. And the sun comes up, the bird leaves, and my phone rings. It's Richie's mother, and he's dead. About the time that I woke up with my girlfriend, he hit a tree coming home from that bar that I should have been in the car. Secondly, to make a long story short,
Oh, do you have an interpretation of all this craziness?
well, at the time, I just discounted it because she fell back asleep, and I'm like, maybe I was imagining the whole thing. And birds don't come at night like that. And like, why did his mother call me the first thing? Like it was the sun had just as soon as the sun comes up. Like
How about
I
now in
get it.
hindsight? How about now in hindsight? Do you
Well,
have an interpretation?
well, it's a hard one, and it's either that Jesus passed through me as he left the earth, he did, or a demon that made him hit
Yeah,
the pole.
I can tell you, at the time you were still heavy in your agnostic lifestyle and living a fleshly life, and yet he knows the beginning from the end. He knew how you were going to end up, and so he was allowing this spiritual warfare to go on in your life of this temporary possession. You were temporarily possessed on the same night that your dear friend was killed, and it's just tremendous spiritual significance of that should have been you, but it wasn't because you are selected. You are set apart as
So
the definition of a saint.
here's the crazy part. Within 6 months, I was in a bar in Glen Cove and went. So if you know anything about this whole area, Glen Cove and Locust Valley, um, so all the kids used to go to this spot in a graveyard that had a crypt in it where there was supposedly a baby. And all the kids would go there and we'd drink in the thing. Well, that's when we were younger. Now we were in this bar, and I got to make the long story short and just tell you, I went for a ride in a guy I hadn't seen in forever, done up 928 S4 Porsche, and he took me for a ride in it, had a few drinks. I only had one drink. I wound up getting thrown from the Porsche after it hit a tree backwards at 90 miles per hour with barely a scratch on my body. He survived too. And it was really bad, the accident. Then, in addition to that, when I was dating this girl at the time, after those two incidents, I was dating this girl from actually during college, right before those incidents. I was dating this girl who was from Hewlett, who was the daughter of wasn't a billionaire at the time, but it's worth over $1 billion now, I'm sure, right? And he was a gambler, and he would always go to all the places from Trump. So you're talking about, back in the 1990s, right? 1990s. Yeah.
Places from Trump. You mean he went to Trump facilities?
Atlantic
Trump
City. Yeah.
Okay.
Casinos. And he would go travel around the world going gambling for free with his family. Well, he got invited to Trump's 45th birthday, and I got invited to go with them. We stayed in the presidential suite in Trump Plaza in Atlantic City. This was the party for all the high rollers. There were like 600 people in the ballroom. This is what you're going to love, Johnny. You're going to love this. You ready for this? This is big. So this forever changed me until the point where he walked down after he walked down the escalator with his wife, I didn't like him anymore. And the reason was because of what I'm about to tell you.
The gambling friend?
The
Okay.
gambling friend. And so not her father, but who invited him to the birthday party? The birthday boy, right?
Donald Trump. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we go there. Marla was 9 months pregnant with Ashley?
Okay.
Ashley. And
Maples, right? Is that her?
yep,
Marla Maples?
Marla Maples.
Right.
Marla did not show up, and the whole night, and I hate to say it, Donald, but you were a different guy back then. You had two 19-year-old girls on your lap the whole night. You were the man of the hour.
No. That's Donald Trump. Period. Not different guy back then, brother. Love you, pal, but that's Donald Trump. Donald Trump is owned by the whole sex thing. Keep going.
So now you're ready, because this is where it gets hard. So suddenly, in a room of 600 people, in a ballroom in his hotel, which had 2 lanes crossed in it, big, like 20 feet wide in the tables, with wood on over whatever it was, or not wood, but rug, right, over that area. All of a sudden, 2 horsemen come on horseback in full Knights Templar regalia. A black and a white knight, right? And a black and a white knight. They cross with jousts in the middle of 600 people, miss, right? Second time, whoosh, miss. Third time, boom, one of them goes down. Other one jumps off the horse, rips off the helmet. It's Donald Trump's brother. So you're telling me Donald Trump's brother was confident enough to do a joust among 600 high roller families, 600 people from high roller families, and know that he wasn't going to hurt anybody and insurance was going to allow it?
Right, yeah.
What? What are you talking about? Like, that guy was super trained in jousting. How is that possible? And why would somebody be super trained in jousting? Unless you were a Knight Templar, of course. Right?
I'll go with that. Sure. And listen, if nothing else, This is they have so much money that their life experiences are on a completely different plane from normal people. They're a completely different plane. Both Max Lowen, who I'm going on with Sean McCann on the 30th, I believe, and Kathy O'Brien, two believable systemic sex abuse victims. Believable. I mean, you can never really vet when someone like that says the insane things, the horrible things.
I believe Kathy. I actually, on my show, I shared one of her whole shows because I believe her.
Well, and Max Lowen says the same thing in relation to this hunting children, of making sport of children. And I told, and I wrote to Max Lowen and I said,
the Black Forest 100%, and also over in Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, well, and what's behind that? The Knights of Hubertus, of which Scalia was a Knight of Hubertus.
Is it Hibernia?
No, Hubertus. Hubertus. Knights of Hubertus. They preserve God's creation by slaughtering it. So they have that. It's not just Bohemian Grove. I think they're blowing up Bohemian Grove because they have all kinds of other locations of secluded ranches and islands that they own, and constantly hearing of how they hunt children and they capture the children, they rape some, they ritually execute others, torture and kill others. So this is there's this scene from the latest version of Hellboy, the demon superhero, the Catholic demon superhero comic book that they show this. Oh my goodness. James Dellingpole brags about to this day how he's in the elite group where they do go put the red coat on and the silly black hat and they hunt foxes in the same manner. This is how the elite, this is how they live. They have nothing better to do than to terrorize man and beast. And
these are the Saxons. The Saxons love that.
Yeah. They are twisted. They are Luciferian. They are twisted, and I'm looking forward to talking to Max, even though she's not Christian. And I'll talk to her about that. But I'm looking forward to it because she gets a lot right in what she says and what she describes. Is particularly, as I've said many times, David Icke, who is on the disinformation team, he's got a half truth. He's got a partial truth when he holds the whole reptilian thing. They're not lizard men, lizard women. They have willed themselves out of their humanity, Mark. They have made a conscious decision to snuff the divine spark out. They have made a conscious decision to cauterize their compassion and their empathy. They've been told, okay, kill a puppy, now kill a kitten, now kill a child, now rape a child. And each time they're able to climb the steps, they're brought closer and closer into the machine because they're loyal, okay? They ever want to get out of the machine, then they have the footage of them, sacrificing a child or whatever the case is. So this is who they are. They willed themselves out of humanity and away from the God-given, the Christ-given empathy and compassion, and this is who they are.
And 90% of the sheep get the crumbs through the things like the Freemasons. Those are crumbs, folks.
Perfectly put.
Stop
Perfectly
selling
put. Oh
yourself
my goodness,
Mark!
Look at Prince Hall Black Freemasonry. Look at what is it? Something Star.
The Eastern Star.
Thank you. For women Freemasonry, it's bad enough to be a pawn in Freemasonry because that's all you are, is a pawn. Now you're black or female and you're a kiddie table pawn. You don't get to sit with the white men. You go sit at the kiddie table. And so I constantly enjoy mocking black Freemasons who, boy, talk about being on the plantation. Talk about house Negro. Okay.
They got completely manipulated the last 4 years. Did you see every single thing Joe Biden went to?
He's a black Freemason now. Did you know that? He's a Prince Hall black Freemason.
Was a church with purple all over the place.
Right.
And
Right.
IHS. Purple and
Revelation
green and
17.
IHS.
Revelation 17. Who wears purple and scarlet? Who wears purple and scarlet, right? And the whole outing of the New York City infrastructure, the mayor, the chief of police, all those guys are Prince Hall Freemasons. And the New York Post is publishing. Are you kidding me? That's the Roman system saying, here's some more patches, get angry. Here's some more patches, get angry. Here's Hispanic and black Freemasons, get pissed off. Here's Jews, get pissed off. That's the Roman Catholic Jesuit machine.
And this thing with the Jews that you railed about when we first started up here, I want to connect for everybody what is going on here, because this goes back right back to 60 AD, right back to the sacking of the temple, right? 70 AD, 66, 70 AD, the sacking of the temple. There was the Sicario was out slitting the throats. They were out slitting the throats of the Sadducees, right? You had, those were the heroes. The people who were slitting throats were the heroes, right? This is the oddest thing that's going on, because it continues to this day. The people that we think are saving us, what I'm telling you, folks, is they're hiding the truth. How is it that I've been out in the open for 4 years on social media, on Trump's platform, where my pinned post on my platform says, I'm going to read it to you right now, is, do you have Truth Social? Can you go on it?
Truth Social? I do not.
Okay. Can I share?
Yeah, you have sharing rights. You can share the screen.
Okay, let me do this.
Just don't leave it there. Share it and take it down.
Why isn't it?
So on the bottom of the screen, you're familiar with Zoom, right? On the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, it's not showing which window for whatever reason. It's not.
Oh, on your computer or the share screen, or you're missing your.
Let me see if it. Oh wait, open system settings. Okay. Google Zoom, put it on. Okay. There we go. Now it should work. Oh no. It's going to make me quit in order to do it. What I had done is I needed to update on this computer because I haven't been podcasting.
So it's a specific app that you need access. Oh, so, all right. Later. We'll do it.
Okay. But what it says is on my Truth Social, the pinned post. One is, first of all, it says Jesus first, pinned posts matter. That's my hashtag always.
Good for you. Praise God.
2020 or bust, and it's chosen at magiparty.com is my email if anybody wants to get to me. Chosen at magi, MAJI, party.com. So my first post, pinned post, says, I have physical proof the FBI set up January 6th. This is my notification to everyone that law enforcement and politicians have been notified and did nothing. They haven't come despite my consistent claims and predictions that came to be. Should anything happen to me or my family, know that I dead man chested the data and it will come faster. That's my pin post. Simply put, right? I protected myself. I knew out of the gate that I had something that was going to explode the situation, whatever it be. I thought that when Trump got in office, he would be putting this on a platter because it doesn't need me. All it needs is Sean Price, who everybody can just go look up. Everybody can go look up my right-hand man, who is hold on. Let me just take you through everything because you're gonna.
Yeah, it's always good to back out and go big picture. It's always good.
Let me just take you through. So, the summer of love happens. I go out and I investigate.
The summer of love.
Yep, that's summer of 2020.
Okay.
On the news, everybody was saying that the Proud Boys were tearing up the cities when meanwhile it was only the Proud Boys who were standing up to Antifa in every city, burning our cities. You remember?
Okay.
Don't you remember?
I remember. I don't want to watch the news, but I do remember Proud Boys, Antifa. But I don't remember a specific them go one guy after the other.
It
But
was insane. The news was saying the Proud Boys were anti-Semites. So I went out there to go investigate it. So I went and did a bunch of rallies. I'm making a long story short. I did a bunch of rallies with them in New Jersey, figured out all the people. But the reason why they let me get to the top right away was because my initiation. They have a stupid initiation where you have to say 5 breakfast cereals in while 5 guys are punching you
oh, cute
to the body. And so that was made up by Gavin McGinnis on the show that he did out of New York City, a Republican show.
We call that mortification of the flesh in the Catholic Church.
So here's what's going on. A dozen guys go after the whole meet. The first day that I met them at this bar in Perth Amboy. And what happens is they ask me, they say, "You want to go?" I said to myself, "You know what? I'm not joining. It doesn't matter. I'm here just to check them out, right?" They were a bunch of good guys, so I said, "You know what? Okay," but they didn't know that I was going to pull a joke on them. I had been training for a dozen years, kickboxing and jujitsu, and so I was going to let them punch me. And so 3, 2, 1, I throw my arms up in the air and I just let them go off, and they started off light. But now remember, they had just punched a bunch of other people and they're tired already. And so they all drop out except for one who was the guy, the president from Philly, who took over. Uncle Tony was his name. Uncle Tony took over as the new guy when the president got kicked out, when I exposed him, when Pacesetter got kicked out. He's the one who took over the presidency. And then the other guy wound up taking over because the FBI took out that other guy, I think. And Sean Price wound up becoming the new president. He was the vice president. Sean Price got convicted of January 6th, got 5 years for January 6th. Nobody knows anything about him. That was my guy. The other guy, who was my guy, and we're going to come back to this story, was Paul Russell Johnson. Look him up right now. Look up and put it up on the screen. Paul Russell Johnson, January 6th. This is my ride or die. He's from Virginia. He had nothing to do with the Proud Boys. Him, his wife, and his son met the weekend after the election in 2020. I was there as a lone wolf. I was a Proud Boy at the time, but I went with one other guy from New Jersey, guy by the name of Mike. MAGA King was his nickname in the Proud Boys. And him and I went, and just sort of unusual things happened. It was all brown shirts down in D.C., except for this guy by the name of Ali.
All right, so brown shirts?
Yep.
What do you mean? You're not talking. You're talking about like Nazis, or what? What is that? Is that a euphemism or God?
It is a Democrat hiding in order to capture, dox, and intimidate patriots. So here's what was going on. So
mole. So you're talking about moles.
No. So watch this. This is something that's from the Nazis, the brown shirts. It was, essentially moles, people who are citizens who are acting on behalf of an organization.
Reminiscent of the early SA.
Correct.
In the Nazi Party. Okay.
And so here's the scene, okay?
Who's led by homosexual Ernst Rome. Go ahead. Rome.
2020, Trump loses. I decide that I am going to go down to D.C. There's a rally going on the weekend after. I think it was on Friday. And I show up in DC with one other guy, not knowing what's going to be there. I'm completely geared up, masked up, flagged up. Him and I, we're the only ones. Everybody else is a regular patriot.
Well, did they
And
tell you to get dressed up?
no, everybody else came to this thing called Stop the Steal. I didn't even know it was going on. So it's this thing from Ali Akbar, and he is an operative for, and I'm going to get you there.
That's a pseudonym, I'm sure.
Ali is, look up Stop the Steal, Ali, you'll find him, and ALI. But he is an operative for what's his name with the white hair? So here's what I discovered on Truth Social. There is a group of operatives on the Republican side that are recruiting creators like you and I to join the team, and they will help them earn money at being a creator. And in return, you're going to have on whoever we say is a friendly and have them on. And so that's how they've been doing this, folks, is they have been using a team of people. So this guy, Ali Akbar, he is led by Roger Stone. In my estimation, folks, Roger Stone is probably bunking him in his ass.
Right.
And
listen, yeah, that's. I've got a whole dossier on Roger Stone. I've got his advertisements that he was running in the magazines and newspapers of him and his wife being swingers, and wanting to have sex and group sex, and he's born again now, of course.
Everybody doesn't really know this, but there's a guy by old leader of the party called Goldsmith or something like that of the Republican Party. He is the original, version of him for the Republican Party. He's led the Republican Party behind the scenes through all of this craziness of the last 100 years. He had been the driving force behind the Republican Party. I can look it up later.
Well, and as usual, Mark, not to step on you, but as usual, we have the rabid, hardcore communist left Democrats. And then we have the phony, sexually compromised frauds of the conservatard reptilian Republican Party.
So this guy Ali set up Stop the Steal, thinking it's a fantastic thing. Everybody thinks it's a fantastic thing as Republicans. Guess what? It was a bunch of Koreans who actually showed up. They were good people showing up. I have pictures of me with them. I'm all geared up, and I'm telling them, guys, cover your faces. Do not let them take pictures of you because they're doxing you. I knew it because I had been dealing with it already for 6 months. Like us with groups of Antifa going in cars next to Antifa in cars, all going to DC, all led and being drawn by the FBI with money being spent on the leaders of each group, people. That's what's happened. And nobody will listen to me. And here's the proof. You ready? So I'm going to fast forward here because we're going on long. But after
the only requirement I have, brothers, is as long as the fur babies are quiet, I'm okay. If they start rumbling around, I'm going to have to take a minute and take them outside. Go ahead.
I'm going to fast forward you and go real quick.
You don't have to skip over so much that we lose skip over so much detail that we lose sight of the whole story. So don't be afraid to give
three times before January 6th going to DC. The second 2 times leading the Proud Boys from New Jersey there, separate group from the Proud Boys from Florida and the rest of the country because of a very specific known infiltration of the FBI from each of us and the other side. Neither wanted to deal with one another because of that, right? And so I decide after outing them that I was going to go into hiding. None of them knew who I was. I kept it hidden all along. I was the only father, normal guy out of all these. Like, everybody else didn't really have a family to worry about. And so I go into hiding. I decide I'm going to go to January 6th anyway, alone, but I'm only going to meet Paul Russell Johnson and his wife there. We wind up going to the rally, everything great. We leave the rally early. We say we're going to head there. He has his stuff. I don't have my stuff on me. I knew it was going to get hairy.
Your stuff.
So
what stuff?
Protection. Because at the rally,
What, like bulletproof vest or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
And no weapons. I had a bat with a flag on it, a wood Louisville Slugger, and I had a vest, I had a helmet, I had goggles, I had gear in my bag for if
because your interaction with the Proud Boys let you know that there was violence planned.
That was going to ensue because of what was
provocateur by the FBI. Did you know it was provocateur by the FBI at that time?
We knew that they were going to steal it, like that they weren't going to let. We were there. We were going originally before I left them, right? The reason why we were going to go was to be the force to ensure that Pence had the ability to say no, because here was the thought in my head why I went anyway. 10 million people were going to show up and demand that Pence not sign off on the whole thing. And Pence didn't do it. Why didn't he do it? Because 2 million people showed up. It wasn't enough people. And so I knew that there was going to be hairiness that day. And so when I went there, so now my buddy goes in front of me, Paul Russell Johnson. Do you remember, look up Paul Russell Johnson and look up the video of Ryan Samsel and Paul Russell Johnson, and the video of them with the police person falling down, the very first incident on the grounds of the Capitol. Ryan Samsel video. Yep. Okay. So, yeah, go to that right there. That's the one I want. So this guy, Ryan Samsel, there's the Ryan Samsel, I think it's 7. Paul Russell Johnson is one of them, except for one thing. He's the only one that got off. Now wait till you hear my story. He's my right-hand man. Wait till you hear what happens and what happened with Jesus. It's incredible. So go to the video of that first, because I want everybody to see how is it possible, folks? I don't know Ryan Samsel. My buddy went ahead.
Oh, hang on. Let me make sure you got sound.
Let's go! Fuck this shit! We tell you dude, you back the fuck off!
You hear that? That's my buddy.
Move!
He's on a thing.
That's our house!
This is him right here. See him right there in front, the black hoodie? That's Paul Russell Johnson right there. This is why he was up for 40 years. This is why they raided his house. Right there's the red hat is Ryan Samsel. Hoodie, my buddy, Ryan Samsel right there. Keep watching.
Oh,
and
is
guess who
that
that is?
Ray Epps right there?
That sure is, friends. Watch this. Keep going. There's my buddy's friend. Okay, there's the police officer. There, see the Punisher? See the Punisher? That's my buddy on who pushed the thing. That's him right there. See him? Okay, so here we are. All right, so there you go. Pull it down. It's enough. You got it there. You got what happened. So 6 of these people who had their hands on that gate got put up for 40 years, their homes raided. That happened in April. He lives on a farm in Virginia, and he got raided. I had just gone viral on TikTok for exposing the meeting that they had during COVID in Europe, the WEF meeting. It was the craziest thing. It went viral. It got 1 million views. And then he got raided. I call him up and I said to him, okay, send me the stuff. I'm going to put it up. I put it up on my thing. Boom. I am gone. Done. TikTok. Done. Now, I call him up and I say to him, Paul, I just want you to know you and I started this together. We're there to the end. That's it. You and I, right? I know that they're listening to us on the phone right now. What I want them to know, and you to tell your lawyer, to tell them, is that if they think for any second that they're going to press charges on you and you're going to go to jail for this, they got another thing coming. They bring you into court and I'm going to show up. All you have to do is call me and I put it away. It's all going to go down.
Because
right?
the infiltration, because of the provocateuring, you mean? What was your defense? What were you going to put down?
All of what I did with the Proud Boys, I recorded. All of it. All of it.
So how does that let your friend off the hook?
How does
We're
it
talking
let
about
him
Paul?
Paul.
Okay.
Yeah. How it lets him off the hook
Yeah.
is because he was there to be a patriot. And what wound up happening is his hands were on a fence at the wrong moment. And the cops thought they had him trapped. But what they didn't realize was that his friend had already trapped the FBI a month earlier and recorded them all.
Okay.
And so when they are on the phone, of course, listening to him and hear me say that, they're like, okay, this guy's a family guy. He's stating that he put it in a dead man's chest. What the fuck are we going to do here about this guy? Let's pigeonhole him. Pigeonhole him. He's not going to get anywhere. We're going to put Jesuits all around him. And so I'm going to explain to you my story, and you're going to understand exactly what they did.
Yeah. So
because on that
you mean was it not dead man's chest, but like dead drop?
Yeah,
What it was a mechanism that if anything happens to you, this information goes out. By the way, in the future, go ahead. Yeah, in the future, that doesn't work. If you're ever doing this, you got one protection. That's the Lord Jesus Christ. That's it. A dead drop, I think it's called.
100,
and anyway,
but
because
I had to do something to protect my family in the physical.
Sure, it's good to have information,
yes.
and but also, I just asked a guy by the name of Barryman Seal. Okay, Barry Seal, who was a daredevil pilot for CIA drug operations in and out of Mena, Arkansas, with the Bush Clinton CIA drug trafficking, and he felt he had the same thing. He felt that he had, hey, if anything happens to me, I'm getting this off. He was still murdered in broad daylight. They had cartel assassins whack him in broad daylight, and then later on,
did Daniel care?
No, Barryman Seal. Barry Seal.
I'm talking about where we are in the Bible, you and I, where we want to be, Daniel 7:7.
Oh, okay, sure.
And we were going to work off there. You
Yeah.
look at the story of Daniel and say, okay, the king said he was going to kill all the sages, right? All the people of the wisdom of, who he thought were the gods, and wound up finding out the
You're
one
talking about
who
Daniel
was
chapter
talking,
2, Nebuchadnezzar's dream, where he
Yeah,
demanded all of his. Yeah, that's Daniel 2, not Daniel 7, where he demanded all of his magi were to interpret his dream, and then he threw it in. Listen, now, you guys are constantly BSing me. I'm not going to tell you the dream. You're going to prove your worth. You tell me okay, now nobody can do this. Okay, well, you're all going to die then. And Daniel said, no, there is one who has the ability to give dreams, and that's Yahweh. And and Daniel steps up, and this amazing dream of a human being of metal stature.
But the important part there, right, that some tend to miss, is that he asked for it. And that's where we started this show today, is that both you and I know you do, you want everybody to realize that the power is within you, not because of you. It's because you have the ability to go ask God all of this stuff and get an answer from him. And it may not be the answer you want, but you have the ability to go speak to him. Yet almost none of us are doing.
This is why we've connected, brother. It's the caveat there is that you are one with Jesus Christ. So that the same thing for Romans 8:28 and Romans 8:29. All things happen for your greatest good. Who? For those who are called according to his purpose. There's the caveat there, I'm afraid. People say that all the time. I say, oh, well, that car accident with my best friend, that happened for my good somehow. I just don't understand it. It only happened for your good if you are in with Christ, if you are one with him. Then everything happens for your greatest good, including tragedy. The next verse says, so that you are conformed to his image. And the sad thing is that the only way to become more like Christ-like is through pain and challenge and trial and so forth. So absolutely, discernment. You want discernment. You want insight. You want to see truth. It is a gift. It is a free gift if you make yourself his bond servant. I don't mean to, preach to anybody. I'm sorry, non-Christians, but that's just our take.
You're going to love this. Coming to Jesus moment for me. I'm a Jew. Right? Coming to Jesus for a moment. January 6th, around those weeks, right? Here's what happens. I had spent 5 years in this turmoil that you're talking about. I had become estranged from my father because I left Wall Street. Not because I left Wall Street, but my whole life sort of fell apart.
To do what? When you stopped working on Wall Street, what'd you do?
I didn't know.
You were jobless? Okay.
I was jobless, and I had a buddy who said to me, come and learn this, which was for 1/10 of what I was making.
What caused the instability in your life?
They knew I knew, and I didn't know it. The demons.
Okay. Okay. Spiritual warfare.
So,
okay.
I was one of the inventors of equity algorithms. I have a hand in inventing equity algorithms on Wall Street for the institutional markets. I was at a hedge fund that had been doing it for 10 years, and we built a broker-dealer to operate algorithms to trade large amounts of stocks.
So mining data and making predictions. And the algorithm allows you to do that.
So at the hedge fund, that's what we did. And then we turned that into an execution algorithm. And then after that, I wound up taking that and making a visualization tool that you could interact with as someone who didn't know how to make an algorithm, and basically make an algorithm from point and clicking. And so it was the final step in my career, and I tried to convince the big money people to go ahead and move in this direction, and they didn't allow it. And the reason why they didn't allow it was because something I didn't really understand at the time. Their reasoning for it is because they make, 10 times the amount trading another way that's not using a computer, right? That's the good answer locally. But the bad answer was Goldman Sachs and BlackRock through Aladdin was doing all this, what I was building behind the scenes. And when too many people know the grift, so here's the way it works on Wall Street, right? You find an anomaly with a computer, and once the computer finds the anomaly, you put as much money as you can into it, which dilutes the anomaly, and you find that sweet spot, right?
What's an anomaly? Explain that.
Yep. So let's say, and I'm going to make it easy, you have 10 stocks, right? And they're all priced $50. And suddenly one of them jumps to $80, right? So what you do is you sell that $80 stock and you buy the same amount of dollars of all the other $50 stocks as your hedge. And then thinking that either those $50 stocks will come up a little bit to meet it, and then you'll sell both and unwind it, or that one at 80 will come back down to 50, and now you've made $30 on whatever you did in that one, right? So that is the art of making money on Wall Street, is finding the anomaly. So if you have a computer, and this is going to lead back to what happened on Truth Social to me, because of my unique mind.
Don't you have something that gives you instant feedback on the stocks that you're investing? Hey, boom, I just made money on this. Isn't there something that gives you that instant feedback?
So, but what this thing that I did that built was monitor it all in real time and then create visualizations to identify the anomalies and then automatically execute on them. So here's the example. In that example, my computer, I set it up. I said, any one of these stocks goes over $80 today. And this is a ridiculous example, right?
But it's simple, so it's helpful that it's simple.
Yep.
Go.
Any one of these 10 stocks goes over $80 today. I want to sell it, and I want to take that money, and I want to buy all the other ones equally. If that happens, and then I make on this trade more than 7% on the trade at any one point today, I want you to close the trade, right? And then it'll sell that one that you bought, all those ones that you bought, and it'll buy back the one that you shorted, right? And you'll make the spread on that. And it's an almost risk-free trade because you're not worried about where the markets are going. You're looking at that one anomaly, betting that it's wrong, right? And so you're searching for the anomaly. So you search for the anomaly, you immediately identify that it's 80, you look for why, you don't see the reason why, you sell it, right? The volume isn't there. As soon as the volume gets sucked up at a support, you realize that it went over 80 on high volume, all of a sudden the volume disappears and it lags a second, boom, you sell it. And so
all right. So instead of the stock being part of a growth trend that continues, it's an anomaly and it's temporary. So you take advantage of that quickly. I got you.
And let's say this. Let's say the opposite happened and you saw that they had blowout earnings that were ridiculous and the new valuation should be 120. Then you buy that one and you sell all the others, thereby having, again, a market neutral trade where you're not really at risk for the capital. You're doing that through borrowing the money from the bank. And so that's how Goldman Sachs only loses money 2 days out of a year in their trading account. That's how it works, folks. And so here's the thing is, if I build a thing that makes it so an average man can do that from his house, is that good for the people in charge? Terrible, right? So what happened was I didn't realize I was getting blocked, but I was getting blocked. and it culminated in a failure of the technology on the back end from a service provider that we had for the communications, and the place that I went to build it decided that it had to be shut down. It was too dangerous from risk point, and I agreed. But they didn't want to continue, and I said to myself, holy crap, do I really want to be on Wall Street and do this again somewhere else? Or am I just going to go do something else? And that's what I did.
Okay.
But
Interesting that you would even have the thought process of trying to make a system like that available to the common person. Interesting that you would even have that thought.
So now guess what happens? So I come into the insurance market and I find out that nobody knows what they're buying and selling here because they can't understand the math. So I built a thing that makes it very clear. And guess what? People can't even understand that. It's the most bizarre thing. But I'll leave that for another day. The point
back
of
to your
this
testimony. So you were
I have
unstable.
a mind that has the ability to see these things from a 10,000-foot level once I get enough data to collect it, and that will lead to where we're going about what happened with Truth Social and the Jesuit infiltration from them by me. The Trojan horses came and attacked me many times, and I'll prove it. And so, and this came from what's his name, with Ali, that whole crew. It's you know, Mike. It's unfortunately it's Mike Flynn. It's Mike Flynn and that whole crew. That's who it is, and I can prove it. Whether they're good or bad, it's up to
All right. The former head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Irish Roman Catholic New Ager General Flynn. His first name is General. Nobody calls him Mike Flynn. You need to get his name right. It's General Flynn. I'm saying that tongue in cheek, of course. Yep. And his brother, still active duty, also a 4-star general. As a quick aside, the Flynn family. Flynn. That's Jewish, right?
Can we do the testimony? Can we do the testimony?
We're not closing the show until you give your testimony, so no worries there. The Flynn family, right? Okay, they're Jews, right? No, they're Irish Roman Catholic 4-star army generals, 2 of them. That's who wields power. You'll go and have Jews do the New York manage the New York Times, and Jews produce movies.
A shapeshifter. That's what you call a shapeshifter. But you said there's no such thing as lizards. That's the shapeshift. Right. It's going from Judaism to being a Muslim to being a Sufist to being whatever it is that.
But in relation to who wields the real power, though, Mark, who wields the real power? It's the Romans. Romans wield the real power. Romans are the ones running the CIA, the FBI, the military. All right, people tied to the Roman Catholic Church. So, all right, bring us back to your unstable January 6th.
Yep.
And
so he gets raided, right? Oh, let's just all do the coming to Jesus moment, right? 2 weeks before January 6th, I decided to go. My family didn't want me to go. I said, I've gone this far, I have to go. God is telling, God, who I don't really believe in a religion, is telling me to go. I have to go, honey, I'm sorry. Okay. He tells me to read Genesis and followed by telling me to read Enoch. When I read it, instantly I see it and I'm like, what the heck? Why am I seeing this? The only 2 people in the whole all of Genesis to be taken and in the Bible to be taken are who?
Enoch and Elijah. Enoch and Elijah.
Enoch and Elijah.
Bodily. Wait, when you say so, what we're saying here is to be bodily, to never see death, to go directly to heaven in their human form.
Correct. And so, in seeing that, it opened my eyes to something special because remember, I grew up a Jew where on Fridays I'd go to my grandma's and it would be kosher and we'd do the Sabbath dinner and this was this was my life, from a grandparent side. My parents left Judaism, but they grew up in a kosher household, and people from Ukraine, Russia, and the other side was, believe it or not, Wallachian, Hungarian, Romanian, right? And so that really plays into what's going on here for me personally.
The home of the Roman Catholic Habsburgs.
Yep. And you'll see what happens later in the story with me buying in and going to Donald Trump's gala here in New York because of what happened there with the Hungarians. So what happens is I read it, and then I read Enoch, and then I go to January 6th, and I come back, and God, by the way, my mother's birthday is January 6th. My heart tells me that I need to go see if religion is for me. So I'm thinking I'm going to go to a temple, right? Being a Jew. And I'm thinking, where do I go? There's not one right here. I live in a Christian sort of an area. And I said, well, the little church around the corner, I always see them giving out food to the poor people every other Sunday. You know what? And when I went and I gave food there, they wound up giving me more food back than I gave them. I'm like, these are good people. Let me go in and check them out. And so I went in and I identified myself, and they greeted me with such warm, open arms, and were amazed that I was a Jew that had stepped in to their world, right, to take a look. So they invited me in. I have a whole conversation with them. I sit in the back, and they are what is it called? I guess like a sort of Baptist-based, they do music. So they have a really amazing music. And immediately when they started playing, I broke down, like in an uncontrollable way that went on the whole entire time I was in, and the music was going on. And then it goes off, they start speaking, and they point to me and welcome me as the new person. And it's a small church. There's maybe 25 people in there, right? 30 people in there. And I'm completely embarrassed. As a man, I don't cry at all. I don't cry, right? And I'm trying to hide myself. I leave. I go back and I tell my wife, honey, you're not going to believe what happened. Would you come back with me next week? And for the next 2 years, we went every Sunday for the next 2 years. And there's more to that story. We went to a couple of different churches, and now I'm a home church. I go a little bit for one, but I can't go. It's blocking my way when I'm partaking and getting distracted from, there are disruptors everywhere. And that's what the problem is. When you get in and you commune with people, the second you get to 3, there's the possibility of something coming from the outside, from emotion, right?
Well, you're being very obtuse. Give some specifics. What are you talking about?
Well, I'll just say this. The second church we went to, they were not really in the Holy Spirit. It was a lie.
Well, so what? Yeah, why? If you're worshiping at home, you said home church. You're worshiping at home. Why would you go to an organized? That's the key.
I agree.
That's where the Holy Spirit. That's how the early Christians. I don't even say church. Brilliant William Tyndale, who gave his life for the gospel, who gave his life for the word, murdered, trapped
Serenity.
by Thomas More and the Papists of England and Henry VIII. William Tyndale, who was printing Bibles in English in Europe, refused to write the word church for a congregation, for gathering. That's what he said. And for ecclesia, for the Greek ecclesia, refused to make it a church because it implies a hierarchy, a structure. So That is absolutely, as soon as you allow human beings to get in between you, who is training Protestant pastors? Jesuits are. Jesuits are training Protestant pastors. Dallas Theological Jesuit Seminary. Okay, where do you go to this seminary? The fact that did Jesus have, did the disciples have specific training? And no, nobody had specific training, because specific training is a choke point for how to infiltrate, how to put disinformation into doctrine. Heresies. 98 to 99% of fundamentalist Protestant Christians teach Jesuit heresy that is futurism in relation to prophecy and eschatology. You go into any church and ask them, who's the Antichrist? I don't know. He's probably going to be like a Muslim or something, and then he's going to come out of nowhere, and then he's going to do a contract with modern Israel and break it halfway through, right? Yeah, that's a heresy based on a purposeful mistranslation of Daniel 9, 20, 24, 25, 26, 27, called futurism, okay? Alcazar and Ribera. 500 years ago, every real Christian knew it was who Antichrist was. It's every pope.
Kurzweil, my friend, guess who was my one of my economics teachers was Kurzweil.
No kidding.
So, yeah. So let me get you to this next amazing part of my journey in it, because that story I was telling you about Paul Russell Johnson getting raided, right? So call it now April, he gets raided. I call out the FBI. Now comes end of June. I have come out online of who I am, and I had been pretending that I was just a regular person, and I was doing something called Trump trains to grow the numbers so I could eventually come out. I come out, nothing really happens. What winds up happening is this whole time I'm thinking that I'm getting raided eventually. And so I wake up, I've been waking up every morning at 4 a.m. and having these thoughts that are bringing in new information to me that no one else seems to know every single day. This is what's going on in my life, right? And so I wake up one morning, it's in the summer, I go out onto my porch where I would normally work, and I go, oh my God, the FBI is coming to my house. They're going to raid me, and they're going to put lasers on my family like they did to Paul.
My first thought would be all the crazies and the Proud Boys would be coming after you as well as them.
Exactly. So here's what happens. I go, oh my God, if I tell my wife I'm going to go to the police station and tell them everything, she's going to tell me no. She grew up the daughter of a police sergeant in New York. And I said, before she wakes up, I'm going, and I'm going to go to my local police station, and I'm going to tell them everything. So I do it. I go there. I ask for the chief. It's a small town, right? I ask for the chief. He's not there. Do you want to speak to a detective? Yes. So young detective comes out in his 20s. Spend an hour with him, tell him the whole thing. That day, not 9 o'clock in the morning, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, right? Guess what happens? I go home. He says, I say to him at the end of it, I say, I don't know what you want to do, where you want to take this, but I have all the data. Let me know how you guys want to handle this. This is a very dangerous situation. It's a town police station, right? But we have like an army of a station for a small town. There's a reason for that too. Well, they go, okay. I said, call me and let me know what you want to do. I go home.
And what killer information did you have to give the FBI on the?
I told them the whole story about the Proud Boys and the Democrats setting up 2020, use the Proud Boys and Antifa to antagonize everyone to show up in January 6th to pretend overthrow the government so Donald Trump would get put in this position and then apparently now get
So you
re-risen.
made the mistake of thinking the FBI's job was law and order.
Right.
Okay.
And so,
And did you learn your lesson, little boy?
well, yeah, so here's what
Okay.
happens. So I leave that police station, and here was the real Jesus moment. I go home, and at noon, I decide that I am going to text Pacesetter, who was the president of the Proud Boys New Jersey, who is Danny Mack, right? Same guy. I decide that I'm going to text him, and I said two things. I said, they're coming. That's it. They're coming.
Stand by to
That's
get
it.
raided by the feds.
Yep. Guess what
Okay.
happens? I see him texting back. He's on a burner phone. He never texts me back immediately. He texts me back and he says, I know. So 4 words have just communicated that we both know that the FBI is on their way right now. Guess what? I said, what do you mean you know? And he texts back, he goes, they just raided Sean Price up at the house in New Jersey with 50 FBI agents and policemen. They took him in, and he's gone down. I tell him, Danny, you really need to come forward. You need to tell everybody what's going on here. I can't have anything to do with you without you coming forward. You were not helping the situation, right? And then I left it alone completely. And so he was bought. He was put in a bad situation, just like Enrique. Enrique thought he was helping at one point, but he just like they did with the people around JFK's killing, just like they did around JFK Jr.'s situation with, don't forget he was running for the governor's seat that was taken by Clinton, right? The senator seat that was taken by Clinton. He died because she needed to take that spot, Junior. And so what we have going on here.
Well, how was I not tracking any of that? How was I not tracking any of that? So what was he living in New York at the time? State of New York at the time?
He was living in New York. He was running for it was the governorship at the time, or it was the senator. It was the senator's seat. They were running. No, it was the governor's seat at the time. I think they were running for Pataki's old seat. I think it was something like that. And so
Pataki, he's Jewish, right?
Pataki.
He's Italian Roman Catholic. The Roman Catholic Church owns New York.
Trinity.
New York.
Anybody visits New York, I want you to visit Trinity Church and go take a look around inside and tell me what you see. And then go out into the yard. So here's what I did, Johnny. I went to all the cemeteries in the area, and they're all caught. All of them. So these arrogant these arrogant people, I say that with parentheses around people. They're so arrogant that they put it all on their tombstones and have triangulated my mind around who they all are. And if you go on to chosenkingdom.com and you go look at my videos, you're going to see one where I expose Biden is old family Templar from the border of North Carolina or in Delaware, West Virginia, where it's Flintstone. It's called Flintstone, the place where his family's from. And what it was the trade route of the Indians, which became the trade route of the settlers, which their family owned and charged for. And guess what was there? As these caravans would come through with the goods, they would put gambling, prostitution. They ran that area, and it was Knights Templar, and it's on his family's gravestones. People, you like.
They swore him in. They swore him in on a Jesuit Bible. They swore him in on a Jesuit Reims. They do a Reims.
I was
Bible.
wondering what that huge Bible was.
Yeah, that's the Biden family Bible. That I'm surprised it doesn't burn anybody whenever they touch it.
So now, I want you to think about what happened, right? How did I know that very day, 7 months from speaking to a Proud Boy at all, them not knowing where I am, no contact for 7 months, how did I know that one of them was being raided at that very moment that I went to the police station where, in my mind, Jesus told me that the FBI was coming, but he wasn't coming to my house. He was coming to Sean Price's house. How is that possible? So all we need to do, folks.
So you weren't being a stool pigeon. You weren't sicking the FBI on
Sean Price.
Price. You weren't sicking the FBI on Price. You were given. You feel you were divinely inspired to know what was going on.
How did I wake up in a panic? It was like I would never go to the police for anything before taking care of it myself, especially with what's gone on. And I felt so strongly I needed to protect my family on this very day. And at the very moment his house gets raided, and the guy answers me immediately, who was his best friend and the former president, who was the informant for the FBI for at least 2 years, and told me, and I have him agreeing to it in text, that he was receiving $2,000 a month for at least 2 years. How is it possible? Unless divine. And so now I am now I'm thinking
the number $2,000 a year. What? So was that completely?
No, $2,000 a month. $2,000 a month.
A month. Pardon me. $2,000 a month from the government, from the Federal Bureau of Inquisition.
Yes.
So that just came to you, or the
Not
fact
to
that
me.
he was okay?
No. So here's what happened. So when I called him out for the FBI because I noticed we were losing information, is that I said to him, Danny, are you an informant for the FBI? And realize I like him. We're friends. He said to me, yes, but here's the thing. I'm helping them catch Antifa. I scream at him. I'm like, Danny, you are not helping them catch Antifa. They're using you. You are being used for a mission. You think that you are Antifa. You are doing exactly what the Democrats are paying for Antifa, and the FBI is paying for you.
Right.
You know, Go Blue is paying for Antifa, and the Republican Party is paying for you.
Right. Good for you.
You know, and so I begged him to come clean, and he didn't. Now, here at this point now, Paul Russell Johnson is backing away from me. He begins backing away. And I think that he's just trying to keep his family safe. He's telling me that he's found God and everything's going to be okay. I'm like, call me. When you go to court, I need to be there. I need to help you. No call. Every time we spoke, it was me reaching out to him, right? Finally, a year in and change into it, year and a half into it, after January 6th, I say to him, I call him up, he picks up. He didn't know who it was. I'm like, what? I'm not in your phone? I go, one question for you. I just want you to answer this question truthfully, and then we're going to hang up and know that I got your back to the end of this. Are you on an NDA? And he goes, yes.
Non-disclosure with who? With the Proud Boys or with the Feds?
Justice Department.
Okay, the Feds. Okay.
Yep.
And Paul was the one that was standing
Rated
next
by
to you on the
52
6th?
Paul was the one that was standing next to Ryan Samsel. They didn't know, they don't know each other. He was next to him because they went in, him and his wife went in advance of me because I had to grab my gear. I show up, and when I had showed up, that was the first line to be broken on the grounds.
Yeah.
And then
and
by
they
the
were
time-
all, and behind all of them was Ray Epps.
Yeah.
Go. Good old Ray Epps from out of Arizona.
Who the day before, you've seen the video of him going, hey, tomorrow we go to the Capitol. That was at I think it's called Patriot or Victory Park the night before. Ali Akbar with all of those people got on stage.
This is far
row.
right Proud Boy patriot Ali Akbar. Ali accent. Hey, all right. The natives are getting restless.
Go let the
I don't
dogs
know
out.
what. How do you want to?
Why don't I keep going? Go let the dogs out.
Okay. All right.
All right. And so it's a long story, folks. And so all of these people the day before, January 6th, on the 5th, got up on stage and got everybody all excited to go to the Capitol after the rally. They were inciting the crowd. This was all a ploy, guys. They were all involved in it 100%. Now, was some of it for a good purpose and some of it for a bad purpose? Absolutely, 100%. The question is why is nobody on the good side saying the things I'm saying? Why are these people I'm talking about here on Johnny's show when I've been out here every day for 4 years giving these names out? Paul Russell Johnson, Danny Mack, who was known as Pace Setter, and Sean Price from Proud Boys, New Jersey. The last two, first guy from Virginia, is why is nobody talking about these guys? Now, on the 5th, they were inciting us. Antifa was being brought in via bus for the previous months every day to Black Lives Matter Plaza, which Trump just shut down and had covered over. I was in Black Lives Matter Plaza the night before and recorded all of this stuff, and it was inciting the left and the right to argue the night before. So there were these white buses with blacked out windows coming in for months every 2 hours. Guess what? 6 p.m., 2 blocks from the White House, across from Five Guys, a white bus, prison bus, pulls up with 3 police cars, DC police, in front and behind it, 2 behind, 1 in front. And they came out, Antifa coming out. I'm walking by Five Guys because I was in the hotel right around the corner, the Hilton, which they held us hostage in on the night of the 6th. If you go to my pin post on Truth Social, you could see it. If you go to my YouTube, Chosen Kingdom, or my Rumble, Chosen Kingdom, you can see a video of it. They held 700 people in a hotel hostage, 70 in the lobby screaming at them, and me getting their faces, which were covered up with masks, as they used facial recognition from their phones on all of us through the window. So this is the America you live in, folks. The America you live in is being exposed from Jesus Christ. He's sending a message to everyone to live in the truth. And what I've done here, believe it or not, is not brave at all. It's not. And you know why? It's because he's told me. He's told me what to do. I've asked him what to do. He's told me what to do. He's kept me protected throughout this whole thing. As a matter of fact, you'll see Johnny's show will go nowhere, because when people come out and they're telling the actual truth, it gets blocked. So I would say, before Johnny gets back, my plea to you, Trump, is to choose. Choose us. Choose Jesus. Come to Jesus as the Messiah, because the reason why God chose, the Israelites is because they are the chosen people who come back.
They were the most disgusting. They're the sleaziest, and the glory of God is found in picking Jacob out of the womb, his heel catcher with his brother Esau. When you have modern culture making fun of them, Jewish Gene Roddenberry and his Star Trek and the Ferengi, they're making fun of Jews with the Ferengi. Okay, this is the what do they have? Their rules of commerce or whatever, that they're making fun of Jews. Okay,
by the way, December, after Trump won in December, remember, I track data. The aura changed. The aura was saying, no, Jews are the chosen people, we're going to help them, to where all of a sudden, all of the people who were all Trump people turned against the Jews, and they were saying, all the right things, because they're not wrong in what they found. The only thing is there are levels to this game.
Hello. Wait, hey, I have a video. Hold on. It probably takes too much time, but I do want to throw this up if I have it. Okay, hang on just one second. It takes too much time to insert a video, but hang on. I've got to do this. Share screen.
Hello? Hello? Anybody home? Hey, think with fly.
Okay? Yeah, I've only been saying this forever. Yes, you're picking Rothschild and Soros, etc., etc. They're middlemen. Epstein, Whitney Webb blows the lid off of Epstein. He's a pimp. He's a middleman. What is above him? Oh, the Mossad is a huge control, but get out of here, Mossad. Mossad are bit players.
They keep on bringing a new guy. When one guy gets outed, they just bring a new one in his place.
Okay, proof, Mark. When mainstream media makes Jeffrey Epstein child trafficking household, clearly there is a structure above that allowing that. Okay? If you look up, you ask, Google changed its birthday to become the 27th of September, which is also the birthday of what? The Jesuits. Oh, it's a coincidence. It's the Jews. It's the Masons. It's the Illuminati.
Remember what day I made my video? The twin flames?
Yeah, I showed you. Yeah.
Yep.
I pointed
you were the
out
one
to
who
you.
noticed that.
Yeah.
I didn't mean that.
Yeah,
no.
And that's him giving you a calling card. That's him telling you, here's where to look.
Well,
Okay.
guess what I wanted to show you, which I can't do unless I log off, is that Donald Trump's incident where he got shot, right? You're not going to believe it.
Go ahead.
You're not going to believe it. Yep. So that day is really Augustus Caesar's birthday. It said that it was the day before, but that's fake. He was born overnight. He was born in the morning on the next day. It was another holiday, so he wanted to make it his own holiday. So he built the two temples, Mars the Avenger, and the other one was for Julius Caesar. And he made these holidays based upon those two gods that he created after him and Julius. And what was the thing? When you do the conversion back from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian, for that day, something else crazy.
Ugh. Hang on.
Think of what it is. It's in my stuff, but it'll come to me. But here's the deal: is that this, in the Bible, he gets slices of the right ear, and it's all, they are mimicking the hidden hand, this whole entire thing that we're watching, folks, that it's all going to happen, not only because God says it's going to happen, but the Jesuit order is mimicking. Did you guys all watch Superman and the his whole team, the universe, the Masters of the Universe, whatever it was called when you were a kid, right? On Sunday mornings, we'd all watch these cartoons.
He-Man and Masters of the Universe?
Well, no. With the one with Superman, where all of his friends of Superman.
Right, that was at the Hall of Justice.
Yeah, and then they had the one
Justice League.
The Justice League, the one where the Justice League was Bizarro World, where it was the upside down of the world, where all their colors were backwards and they were evil. That is what we have going on here. That was a recreation of what he was doing in Rome, which was creating the two temples, the light and the dark. Everybody's going to come to the light this time. This golden age, right, is a recreation of all the stuff that's predicted in the Bible, except manipulated for this.
Right. Yeah, that's the only way Satan
bizarro
gets
world.
Right. That's the only way Satan gets any legitimacy, Mark, is to mirror and in a way mimic, but also honor and mimic at the same time. Honor and mock of the legitimate. This is the secret to the power of the Catholic Church. Okay, it's a conglomerate. It's a syncretistic mix of Luciferian Judaism with the trappings of being Christian. Okay,
you wouldn't. We're gonna have to save this all for another time. But to go over, I was gonna bring in that video of the romantic twin flames because it really gets to the bottom of all of this. So here's the things I noted that it said for everybody who goes there and watches it. Minute 24 of romantic twin flames, shot heard round the world. That is the dig on that shot. It comes from Rome. It's a recreation of it. Minute 27 is Libertas and the Proud Boys. They infiltrated me on Truth Social, a group calling themselves Libertas. Okay.
As a quick aside, what's his name? O'Keefe, right? O'Keefe's got his original organization. It's Veritas, right? Anytime you see Latin, come on,
Libertas Veritas.
Right.
So get this. You ready for this? Your mind is about to be blown. What if I told you one of my good friends from Goldman Sachs was the guy who fired James O'Keefe? And I had given the information that I had, the data, to James O'Keefe on Telegram early. I had a conversation going back and forth with them. They disappear. A year later, after I had caught all of Ali Akbar's people and a whole group of them, recorded the whole thing and what they were doing, they have infiltrated my group. And now my group is no longer a group, to the point where the original person of my group, and I hate to tell you this, Johnny, because unfortunately it's the truth, they killed her with this stuff. They killed her with it. And here's how they did it. These people want us to do the Kundalini rising for some reason. They came in with their flat earth, Jesuit, Freemason explanation of the world using the New Age stuff. And now I'm not saying that some of this stuff isn't real.
Oh, they
right?
have to. They get their legitimacy they have a big lie with a foundation of truth, and the fact that we are not on a spinning ball. You can verify that for yourself, but they open that
100%.
up as a hook, and they hook you with that. Go ahead.
Correct. And so their whole intention is to mimic what is actually happening in order to deceive you and bring you to another place. So I had this group, and it was multiple groups of people come in, and they had convinced us 2 Januaries ago. Was it 2? Yes, 2 Januaries ago. In order to, a couple came into my thing, and they started doing all this sort of new age posts within the thing. And now, the point of the group was to be open and to explore things, but they were there to push. And we believed in them, so we didn't really think about it. Well, they were pushing that per our birthdays, we needed to do a fast. So I was doing a fast anyway. I did a 3-day fast, and the most unbelievable thing happened. As soon as I did that 3-day fast and they heard the results of it, they were like, oh, Mark, Junior, you got to do this on your birthday. We'll figure, not on your birthday, but on a very specific day based upon your birthday each month. It's within your moon cycle, right? But I didn't know this at the time. They weren't referencing moon cycle, right? But this is what's going on. It's Sophia. You've read the book?
No, but I'm
Okay.
I'm acknowledging.
Write it down. Pistis Sophia, because this is what's going on. This is the female downward arrow side of the relationship of the two pillars.
Right, and this is why the Jesuits call their university in Japan Sophia University.
Correct. And so, where was I? Was that? Can you help me 1 sec?
Yeah, in relation to you allowed a new age influence into your
Yes.
group, and they recommended that you fast,
So-
and you're realizing that it's to do to the moon cycle.
We were
The
supposed
goddess
to do it.
Sophia, who is Ishtar, Columbia, Semiramis, fill in the blank.
We were supposed to do it on a specific day in the next month. I got really busy with work, and I missed my day. And they went like berserk, like weirdly berserk. They were so upset about it. And they got, because hers, Junior's, came after mine the day she was supposed to start the 3-day fast. She did it, and the results were she was throwing up black bile for months.
What specifically? What was she? Were you guys fasting? Fasting absolutely everything. So no food or drink for 3 days.
Yep, exactly. And so she didn't do the drink because she was sick already, so she couldn't.
What
But she
drink?
did
What
the food-
drink?
Water.
Okay.
All I was doing was coffee, and that's it. And that's all I would drink. I have to have coffee.
Coffee.
Yep. No sugar in it, just coffee for 3 days.
That's
It's
pretty
amazing.
brutal.
It's amazing. And so it's not that hard, actually, once you get beyond 24 hours. And so then I really think I could go a week. So anyway.
Well,
what happens-
basically, so real quick, what's going on is you've got all kinds of bad influence because the Luciferian satanic machine is in your food everywhere. It's all kinds of bad influences, and you're giving your body a rest, even though it's not a total rest if you're still doing coffee, but it's a dramatic rest, and so that's very helpful.
Well, and like all these people who were whatever religion they're from, sages and everything, the way they all do it is a Jesus sort of a thing. It's a Moses sort of a thing.
Yeah, and let me tell
where
you
go
something. And
up to the
these
mountain and
people
you
that
pray.
got into your group, this is what I've been saying. As I don't know if how much you've been able to listen to me, is in relation to health truth. You have two choices. You either have compromised half truths from frauds, or you've got more complete truth from New Agers. Absolutely dominated. Absolutely, the people coming out in relation to the scamdemic and viruses and vaccines, almost entirely new age. Almost entirely new age. So the equation is save your body, lose your soul. This is by design. By design. I am an outcast. I am a leper within this community because I'm born again and I blame the Roman Catholic Church.
So guess what's worse? Because you're doing that and you're in the hole with me because I'm doing that. Everyone who's getting the airwaves is paid. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Every
Sure.
one of them. And I can prove it because I've caught them all, and their only defense to me is to block me. All of them block me everywhere because I can't comment on their stuff. I can't, nothing. And it's because they know I recorded them. Do you know a woman named Michelle Moore?
Yes, vaguely,
So
yes.
she was the first one from what I call the Red Check Alliance,
Okay.
which is like the Blue Check Alliance on
Okay.
Twitter,
Okay.
to acknowledge that.
She's a big fan of Donald Trump, isn't she?
Yep.
Yeah.
She was.
Right.
She had figured out that something was different with me, right? So, of course, every one of these creators wants a new story. They have to have it every single day. I don't create every day because I don't have anything to say every single day, right? But when I put it all together and I have something to say, I do it, right? The second I do it, because it's on my mind and I want it to happen. These people have to create stuff. So she hears something that she likes, and now she's in email with me. All of a sudden, her email gets blocked from me and she doesn't respond. So I go on to a Rumble and I say, what happened to you? She goes, I don't know. I can't see your email. And I go, okay, why don't we do a live, but I won't record it, meaning we won't go live. I'll just go on to my thing and then we'll record it like this, right? And so we go on and she shows how my text won't go to her and her text won't go to me. It was actually text that it was. And we're like, what is going on here? And where she was, and I was like, you know what's going on here. They don't want you to bring me out. And so over the conversation, as I start, like I just did with you, to elaborate what it is that I've been keeping out in the open, hidden in plain sight, and you see the look of concern on her face starting to grow and grow. And then all of a sudden, she's like, well, I got to go. Let's continue this another time. She never came back. I said, hey, what happened? So this was the woman who brought out Mike Gill, brought Mike Gill into her home. And
really?
I at the time, I was like, I'm open to the fact that the stuff that Mike Gill is telling is true. He has a bad past, and I know all about him.
It's a half truth from what my understanding is, and Mike and I go back a long ways. Is that
wait till I show you, bud.
He tells the story about how he was at some ridiculous amount of money. I don't know, some large sum, 500, some 50 million. I don't know, some ridiculous amount of money that he was supposedly
25 million.
Okay, 25 million to come onto the team. Is his story. And my understanding is, in reality is, so he had information in relation to
Panama Papers,
corruption, Panama Papers, and the corruption in, was it New Hampshire? Is it?
Yep.
Corruption, government corruption, New Hampshire, and who's that?
With Sununu.
Right, the Sununu. That of course the Sununu family there. Daddy and son and feudalism and Shaheens and the Shaheens, right? The Sunus and the Shaheens. Yep. And what my understanding now is that it was actually the other way around. He was blackmailing them, saying, "Give me 25 million to shut up, or else." And so instead, he got put on a hit list, and that's
so they not only did they not bring me forward, they both attacked me on their show without naming me.
So here, let me tell you the rest of the story. Surprise, surprise.
Oh, but by the way, hold on. Guess who else is involved in this?
O'Keefe.
Well, and I never got to that part on O'Keefe, what they did to me. Unbelievable. So
these are all compromised individuals.
Yes.
So real
Danny-
quick, let me tell you what happened
Yep,
between Gil and I. Okay.
Yep.
He's describing to me, and he's coughing, and he sounds like crap, and he's on the run. I'm living in a motel. I'm living out of my car. Blah 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 blah. And so I'm trying to help him. I'm trying to get donations for him, and he says I've lost my ID. So we create a donation, and it shoots right up, right to what, I don't know, 2,500, $5,000, something like that. Shoots right up, and he says, "I can't withdraw. I can't make a withdrawal. I don't have my ID. What do I do? What do I do?" And so my wife and I are pulling our hair out. How do we get this guy his money so he can eat and not die? So we
oh my God.
try to take over the account. I'm going to withdraw the money, and I'm going to find a way to wire it to him. In the middle of all that, he goes on Twitter and says, this guy, Johnny Cerrucci, is stealing my money. And he absolutely destroys my credibility. All kinds of people coming out of the woodwork, you bastard. This guy is a hero, and you're stealing his money.
Do you know TPV, the Patriot Voice? I'm pretty sure they did this to him. At the very beginning of all this, it was the first person to hold a private rally, and it was going on with Lynn. So Lynn was involved in it. So they came in and attacked it because of Mike Flynn, and they destroyed it and made it look like he was stealing everyone's money. It was I think he didn't realize that he was doing it. I called him. I didn't call him out. I asked him, listen, just explain yourself. And he blocked me. He's
a very unstable guy. And for me, proof was his relationship with devout Catholic Brendan O'Connell. Similar situation that got blown up because he's damaged goods. And clearly the machine is using him as a wrecking ball. Clearly.
For whatever they want. He's their scout for the media.
Yeah, and meanwhile, the Sununu Shaheen machine is
Rolls on. So did you take a look at my other site, magiparty.com? So I ran...
Not in depth. I glanced at it, not in depth.
I ran Sean Fife. I helped him to run for governor.
Cool.
And he came in third. And it is so corrupted in New Hampshire that there's literally no way out for it. It's a Jesuit Freemason nightmare up there. It really is, because of the structure of what society is like there. So let me get back, because you were on to the what's his name, O'Keefe, right? So I told you I was into O'Keefe early, tried to get it to him, and they ghosted me. So a year later, all of a sudden he gets fired, right? So I go up and look online, go look up the story of him getting fired from Project Veritas. You'll see a guy by the name of Danny, I just said it to you before, Dan Strack, former Goldman Sachs guy. I sat across the desk from him for 2 years before we ended our career. The two of us were ending our careers on Wall Street across from one another. What are the chances of that? We both left the main firms we were with at Wall Street. We went to this little teeny firm that was located a couple of towns away from both of us, and we both sat across from each other. Guess what? I go and I look up this story, and it says his name as being the guy who got hired from James O'Keefe as the CEO, and then the board asks the CEO to fire him. And I get him on, I see that, I immediately text him and I say, hey, Danny, is that you with Project Veritas? And he goes, yeah, I took a role with them to help them out, for a Republican thing last year. And this is where it went. I said, you got to be kidding me. You got to call me. I tried to get information, whistleblowing about 2020 out to him last year. He never responded. Now you're the CEO. Let's go, brother. Let's go. So he meets me, and you're not going to believe this. Here's another God moment, because it gets into another dig of mine. He meets me at Huddy's in Colts Neck. Now, Huddy is named after Joshua Huddy. Write the name down. You're going to want to dig this later, okay? Joshua Huddy is, and you're not going to believe who I went to January 6th with. I said I went with nobody, but that's not exactly true. I teamed up with a group of guys where I didn't go with them, but I had them there as backup with a group by the name of who were the Patriots in 1776? What were the names? Who were the real Patriots?
What, Tea Party?
Well, who was the Tea Party?
Freemasons.
No, well,
Just go ahead and give it up. I'm not going to, can't guess. Go.
It's the name is coming.
Oh, so you want me to guess for your brain because your brain frozen it.
I get these brain freezes.
It's okay.
The names. The Patriots, the Sons of Liberty. The Sons of Liberty. So, let me take you back in. Huddy's. Joshua Huddy was the leader of them here in the local area of New Jersey. He was one of the ones that funded the Boston Tea Party. All of them got together and they funded two things. They funded the stealing of the gunpowder incident in upstate New York at West Point, where they stole the gunpowder for the revolution, right? You know about that story? That was all of the Sons of Liberty on the East Coast. They were the militia. So here's where it gets bad, guys, is that everyone is Freemasons. So this guy, Joshua Huddy, remember, this is Roman, this is the Trojans. He got sold out by George Washington for the Loyalists in Staten Island, who came across the river, grabbed him, and hung him on Sandy Hook. And in retribution, the Sons of Liberty, after Washington did not fulfill what he was supposed to do, so here's what happened. Washington demanded someone pay for it because he knew that it was his ass with the real militia in America, the real people who saved America, Joshua Huddy people, local business owners. He owned the bar, right? And he put his money towards the Tea Party, towards that the gunpowder thing, in order to start the revolution, because he knew what was going on, that it was infiltration from both sides, the Federalists and the Loyalists, the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. They were all one and the same. It was them fighting against, it was as if it was just England fighting against France, and they were using all people who were calling themselves revolutionaries in America when they weren't. I mean, think about it, guys. These guys were all in their 20s, and they were wearing suits with tails and wigs. What? You were fighting a revolutionary war, dude. You were not wearing that. There weren't cars and guns. There were muskets. This is ridiculousness, people. And so this guy, Joshua Huddy, was one of the revolutionaries. The Loyalists, after an agreement was made between the King of England which came through, what's his name? The Lord that was here. A deal was cut to basically make America, right? Everybody was going to go back and stop fighting, because it wasn't like one group was fighting another. There were multiple groups fighting one another here, but they were all fighting for one crown or another, or our freedom. And so what winds up happening is France fully funded it, but guess what? The king was the cousin through the Queen of England. And so hence, it was a conflagration of the royal families, the Freemasons, the Jesuits, in order to make it appear as though we were freeing ourselves. So all of this that has happened to me was never really about 2020. It was never really about January 6th. And quite honestly, it was never really about exposing America and who we really are. But it was about finding the true God.
Yeah, so good for you.
Let me just say right here is that the trick is it's not just Freemason. It's the Enlightenment movement.
Well, let me tell you, yeah, and the Enlightenment means the death of Jesus Christ, the crushing of true truth, the crushing of truth. Period, is another Jesuit agenda, another Jesuit machination, and I'm going to recommend, after my 5 books, of course, Saucy's Rulers of Evil. One thing that he doesn't do is give the big picture, and I do that. Is that I explain how for millennia, the popes, this is why they are the little horn of Daniel that speaks, boasts, blasphemous things. What a perfect description the Holy Spirit makes of the popes. They are wannabe kings. They are wannabe kings, but they don't wield the coercive force of armies. They have to rely on the Catholic kings and queens to loan them their armies for their crusades. And this, after millennia of many Catholic kings and queens letting them down, this eventually wore them out. And this caused the Jesuit, the satanically brilliant Jesuit machination, to build themselves a nation from the ground up. That is the United States. They created the United States to be their permanent sword arm, the sword arm of Rome. Why is
remember,
it that...
this is 10-1. We are creating, you actually brought me to this earlier, and you're saying 7, let's look at it, is that when you're talking about 10, I'm seeing in my head the 7 continents and the Vatican, the City of London, and Washington creating that 10 and becoming one, which is the one world order that they're all driving towards in this Thelema, modern day Jesuit.
One religion under the papacy. One religion under the papacy. So that was, and it's God bless you. First of all, it's a dynamite. All of this is not about truth. It's about the way, the truth, and the life. John 14:6, Jesus Christ. And it's also about learning how it's all a setup. From the beginning, it's a setup. From the beginning. This is George III and his prime minister, Pitt. 2 individuals that gave aid and comfort to the Jesuits when they suppressed themselves in 1773. Meanwhile, you've got Jesuits, literal Jesuits like Eric Phelps, saying, "Oh, if the Jesuits weren't suppressed, the United States could never have been born." No, the Jesuits were behind all of that. The Jesuits suppressed themselves, and the Jesuits created the United States. And George Washington and the majority of the so-called founding fathers were all good Freemasons and all in tight with Rome. George Washington took last rites.
Do you know what the circle dance is from the Indians?
No.
So back when, all of these people were supposedly running from Europe and coming to free America. I don't believe that was happening. The royalty was sending people so that way that they could assume the new land, right? If you don't send people, how are you going to assume the new land? These people weren't running for religious purposes. They were being sent, right? And so when they were sending them, the Indians at first were being greeted, with love back and forth, and they were sharing things. You would assume sometimes they were fighting on things, but what they found was they were speaking to God. And they were, listen, when you don't know Jesus, before I knew Jesus, was I speaking to God when I was speaking to God? Of course I was. It's just I wasn't ready to yet utter the words of who that God really is, right? And so someone who's on an island who doesn't know what Christianity or doesn't know what any religion is, right? When they look up to the sky and say, hey, help me, right? Are they speaking to God or not? You know what I mean? A lot of Catholics would say, no, they're not. I would say, yes, they are. You know what I mean? It's a matter of interpretation and where you are in your relationship of the understanding of what is going on here and what he has decided to reveal to you. And Johnny, I forgot to get back to, remember I told you for 5 years I was in a really bad place before I found God. And I'll be really revealing here as I got into a fight with my family over what was the destruction of my life, my father and my sisters. And I was so distraught about it that I was lashing out. And I was, my way of showing them love was show them love in 1 minute and try and say nice things to encourage them to come back. And in the next second, I would say, what a piece of shit you are, right? And so for 5 years, I did that. And I was literally having these thoughts that were demonic, right? Nothing I would ever take over on, but the thoughts within themselves, if you're a believer in God, are just as bad, right? And so it was that moment of reading Genesis that sparked the light at that very moment. Ever since, I have never, ever cursed them again. They don't come to my mind as I hate them. They come to my mind as how pitiful that they're not going to make it, because they're not. You know what I mean? I pray every day that they figure out the way, but knowing what they know about me and still denying it, all of it, is the falling.
No, as Christ said, a prophet is never without honor except in his own home, his own hometown, etc. So, yeah, the hardest family is the hardest to witness to, whether it's just truth, period. And I tell people very, very often that sharing red pill truth is absolutely identical to sharing the gospel. Is first you have to listen to whoever it is that you're talking to and wait for the opening where they tell you, I'm at my wit's end. I don't know how to proceed with this. I'm losing my whatever, losing my job, losing my money. And that's where your opening is. Well, I happen to know a God that has the power to rescue you. His name is Jesus Christ. Or, come on, man, you mean to tell me that your government would lie to you? No, absolutely. I believe that two aircraft can make engineering history and pancake 5 World Trade Center, certainly 3 skyscrapers into their own footprints on 9/11. No, your government would never lie to you. So it's all about, they're very similar. It's truth. Truth is truth. Jesus Christ. I am the way, the truth, and life. John 14:6. So, all right, man. Do you want to summarize? You feel like you need to?
Yeah. I mean, I think you and I could actually go on forever and ever. I recognized it in you immediately. And you were the exact type of person that I would invite into that private group on Telegram that I don't do anymore. And
Yeah, I wouldn't go. There's a lot of new ages in there now.
yeah, well,
I'm
it
teasing
doesn't
you.
it doesn't make sense to do things outside of the light of day for me anymore. And what do I mean by that? Us doing this and having these conversations are the things that wake people up. Nobody's back then, it would press my buttons, the things that would go on, because I didn't understand that it was a Jesuit plot. And these people are actually a part of it, whether they know it or not. And I want you to understand from an here's what we'll leave it with today. From an algorithmic point of view, when you are dealing in any media like this, you are being fed what they want to feed you. Meaning, when I make a post on Truth Social or on X or whatever, they actually have an algorithm that reads that post. And so I'll give you a clean example. I want Donald Trump over Kamala Harris before the thing. And I put that post up. The algorithm scans it and says, okay, we want to negate this message. We're either going to bury it or we're going to bury it another way.
That would be my entire account. That's not a single post me. That's my entire Twitter account.
Yes,
They bury the entire
I'm not there.
account.
I'm not there anymore because of it. But what happens is they actually send the people who are real to see your post. So they will negate it by saying, well, that's, he's a racist. And you'll get 10 posts that say he's a racist. No one that says, I'm with you, but I'm with you, pal. And
yeah, that's. Let me tell you something. That's why I have zero tolerance. That's why I'm so distrustful of Rumble, and yet I'm pulled into it. Rumble by design is you're not allowed. You have no mechanisms for handling trolls. You cannot delete or censor any trolls on Rumble by design. And those other platforms where I am absolutely dictatorial on it. I do not suffer anyone that I sense as a troll because that's a tactic. It's a tactic.
But the problem is nobody goes to Odyssey. Nobody
goes to any of them. Nobody knows they exist.
No.
Nobody knows they exist.
YouTube.
Once they get you off of YouTube,
my YouTube,
90%. Once you leave YouTube, you'll get about 10% of what you had on YouTube.
I can't even get 3 people to watch me on YouTube when I do a show.
Yeah, that too.
I have to put it right in their face if it's on YouTube. And then you get blocked with commercials. And do you notice that when you post onto YouTube, unless you go into your the main window for your personal videos and stuff, your whatever, the controller, and you have to basically the dashboard and go in and say it's not for children and everything.
Yeah. Because if there's anybody that cares and safeguards the children, it's YouTube.
Yes. And so, but once you do that, then it will release onto your page.
They gave me a strike, and I have done nothing with this account. All I used to do was I would upload stupid video game clips. Do you know that they went back in time, stupid video game clip that was years old, and gave me a strike for it? And I assume with their baloney logic of it's not video game clip. You gave me a strike for it? Are you kidding me?
I got an email 3 months ago because of a video I put up in 2016 about the election.
Listen,
do you believe that?
I'm telling you, Mark, I regularly say on my show, when the revolution comes, it'll be time to blind the blinders. It'll be time. This is the new normal, and it is done out of fear, stark raving fear, that they crush and censor and delete. Even they have nothing else to do, so now they're going to second, third tier layers and levels of truth. I've been threatened simply for leaving comments. You're not allowed to leave comments on YouTube. Are you out of your mind?
Here's where we're going to end this one, okay? November of 2023, the FBI finally came to my house. Out in front of my house, with a local police officer with them, I said to them, let me give you my database. Go to the police station and go find the video recording that I recorded of them. I asked them to record it of me saying all of this. Go get it and let me know what you want to do. They never came back. They never took it that day. They never came back. They didn't ask for it.
Yeah, because
Then,
they were the ones. They were the criminals.
a month later, I decide that I am going to give my wife a surprise and do something to basically figure this whole thing out finally once and for all and go see Donald Trump. I paid $2,800 because a friend of mine is in the Young Republicans of New York. They had the gala for him across from Trump Tower in Cipriani's. I bought VIP tickets for the two of us for $2,800. Show up in a tuxedo. I pulled the same thing I pulled on the Proud Boys with them. I pretended to be drunk. I was really just happy and the life of the party and introducing myself to everyone. The goal was to hand a letter to Donald Trump in an envelope with the Chosen Kingdom on it. And I could read you what it says. We'll do it in another time. But basically,
Give me a summary.
I told him I could fix 3 things about America using my specialty. One was the election process. I've got the answer. The other one was, I can't remember what the other 2 was at the moment. And then I asked for help for 2 people who were really in a lot of need. And what happens is up in the VIP room, I see Matt Getz, and I walk over and I say to him, Matt, see this letter right here? I'm not going to hand it to you, but I'm going to hand it to Trump. And when I do, I want you to be aware of it, and I want you to read it because I want you to help. The reason I went there was to look in Trump's eyes to see if he was not like us. That's it. Not like us. I don't know what that is, but not like us. When I tell you not like us, Matt Getz was not like us. He immediately went into a strange rage, and him and I were almost, my wife would say, on the verge of fists, with the Secret Service around him doing nothing.
I can assure you that no human being is going to be put in that position unless they are not like us, unless they are thoroughly, heavily compromised and controlled, and that is Donald Trump. That is Donald John Trump.
Guess what happens? I step 5 feet away, standing there talking with my wife. They're all uncomfortable. After 2 minutes, I'm like, let's go over back to the old people that we were hanging out with. And I could talk about who those people were, but it was all people within that crew. Well, we go down to our table. Now, I want you to realize, I was one of the first people to buy it. Before this girl's parents, I was sat as far away as possible from Trump. As soon I am standing up, clapping, being loud, it's all rich people, realize. All the husbands were looking at me like sort of nastily, and all the wives were like looking. And my wife was sort of annoyed at me because I was being loud, like a New Yorker, right? And what winds up happening is an hour and a half until Trump comes on. Nobody comes and says anything to me, right? Trump comes on. Everyone stands up, goes crazy. And finally, right? And I'm screaming, finally, you're all awake, right? Secret Service taps me on the shoulder. I'm recording because I'm recording Trump on. So it gets all taped. He goes, Mark, come with us. I say, I'm not going anywhere. I bought these tickets to see my president. I'm going to watch him. You want to talk to me? I'll talk to you afterwards, but I'm staying here. And he goes, Mark, are you going to hurt Trump? And I said, no. You know exactly who I am. You you didn't just show up on the scene here. The people know who I am in your ear. And I'm like, take this letter. The 3 guys before you wouldn't take the letter. I tried to hand it to them. They wouldn't take it. He goes, nope. I said, you're going to take this letter because what if it's here, something that you need to know? You need to take this letter, right? What if I am here, right? He takes the letter. He goes back over to the side, stands, hands it off, and watches me for the whole entire time. So we had a great time, amazing. End of it comes. They walk over to me as we're walking away. I thought we were going to go into a meeting room and tell everybody everything. Nope. They walk us out the front door. We have a conversation where they're sort of listening. And I say to them, guys, you're listening to what I'm telling you and you're dismissing it. You're understanding what the guy in your ear is telling you to do, and you're missing the whole boat. Like, realize it's traitorous stuff. What's going on here? No reaction. We go out. We spend the night out at the bars with all the Trumpies. That was Saturday night. Monday morning, my wife gets a call from the Secret Service while she's at work. Doesn't answer. Calls up at me, yells, and says, call these people and tell them to get the fuck out of here. And so I call him up and I say, why are you calling my wife? And she's like, well, we need to speak to somebody to make sure you're okay. I said, I'm okay.
Were you feeling depressed?
Yeah. Did you get a report of what it is I said to them? Do you have that letter in your hand? And she goes, yes. So they have the letter. So you're telling me that you have that letter of me exposing it, telling you how I'm going to help, right? Before the election, and nobody did anything. Nobody's questioned any of my people. So what we're going to leave every one of your viewers and mine once we post it up.
It's all Jesuit theater.
Here,
it's all Jesuit
theater. All of it. So even if Trump is good and Jesuit theater, it's still Jesuit theater. And so whether you want, I'm not making this about individual people.
Hey, I
wonder
what Matthew Lewis, ambulance chaser Gates #2, knows about Jeffrey Epstein, given that he was a congressperson in Florida during the critical Epstein years, just like Donald Trump's attorney general female was attorney general in Florida during the critical Epstein years.
Ask him about his oldest son. He's adopted. Sort of. Weird stuff. There was a kid living in his house.
That's right. They're very close.
Yeah, a little Cuban kid.
That's right. I have a dossier on old Matt Getz, the Baptist.
Three wives later, this guy is sort of still in the shadows.
You bet.
So I don't know. And listen, so Johnny,
12 years old he was when he came in. Now he's 19.
Remember I told you about going after the cemeteries? Go to Moravian Cemetery in Staten Island, and where it leads is down multiple rabbit holes, including politicians and the mob. I went there originally because my family has sort of connections to Paul Castellano. So Paul Castellano is buried there, but also who's buried there is Biltmore. Here we go again.
Castellano, that's Jewish, right? No.
So all of this in that cemetery is all Knights Templar, all Knights of Malta. And if you, Johnny, take a look at this, and wait, let's make
there
sure
you go. In front of your chest. There you go.
See it and your people.
Yeah.
Right? Can you read what that says?
Something Wars, New Jersey. Society of Colonial Wars. Okay.
Society of Colonial Wars in the state of New Jersey, yearbook 1933. I bought this in Princeton, New Jersey, in an old bookstore. And what it is, dude, this is crazy. These people are so egotistical that they actually record all their interconnections and all the little clubs, boys' clubs, where they play around with each other as a way of stating, I'm the man, baby. My family's the man. And we go all the way back to the Revolutionary War of Jesuits involved in creating this country. So in each state, what I'm telling you is this book exists each year from this society. And what Junior Mint, who passed away, who I was telling you about, that I originally started with this, what we found was that all of these societies, if it's called a society, it means that it is among this hidden hand order where they are hiding in plain sight the sleight of hand, meaning they are telling us they are Christians, they're telling us they're Jews, they're telling us they're Muslims, but if you go look up Sabbatai Zevi in 1666, you'll understand that all of these people are what are called Judaizers, who are in training from the time they're little kids. If you understand going back to my history, which is I'm Wallachian, the most famous Wallachian of all time is who? Is Dracula, or who was Dracula?
Oh, okay, Wallachian. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Who was Dracula actually? Because that's fake shit.
Yeah, the Impaler, Vlad the Impaler.
Vlad the Impaler. Guess where he was brought up and
He was a knight of the Catholic Church. He was originally Orthodox, and his whole family went hard through Hungary. He's in my fourth book.
He was the king of the Wallachia area, but guess where his father and him were educated? They were educated under what is it called? Rule of Muslim rule. They cut a deal with.
No, right. They ransomed. They ransomed he and his brother. And what may have happened is that he was forcibly sodomized and became obsessed with executing people in a similar fashion, which made him an absolute demon. An absolute demon.
You know what I believe the story to be is that the same spirit that they say was Merlin, which is because Vlad Tepes. Do you know who Vlad Tepes is? It's the same thing historically, but under the story of King Arthur and Merlin, where it's Vlad Tepes, where basically that same spirit was summoned into a Wallachian cave within this mountain, and Dracula, or Vlad the Impaler, who was the king of Wallachia, went up to the mountain in order to get magical power from this cave. He goes in there and basically releases the devil, or whatever that spirit was, onto the world and saves his people, but in turn sells his soul.
Yeah, I'm sure there's foundation of truth and all those.
I think that's probably closer to the real story of Dracula than the crazy one that we're told.
Oh, and listen, that's what they do is they hone in, they shine the spotlight on the truth, and then they pull you away and distract you. It's another version of that would be blown cover as cover. Blown cover as cover is shine the spotlight right on it.
I'll just read you one of these, and it's just one of the people in the book. Sidney Shifflin Schuler. That's obviously a Jew, right? 1933. He's in the Society of Colonial Wars, meaning his family was fought in the Colonial War. You have to be in the society, right? So here's a Jew named Sidney Shifflin Schuler, certainly a Jew, from Jersey City. And I'll just go down. It tells all about who his family members are going all the way back. And then it says, following is a list of the various clubs and society which Mr. Schuler was a member. Ancient Arabic Order of the Nobles of the Mystic Shrine Mecca Temple. What?
Amazing.
New York Club. New York Yacht Club. Trinity Commandery number 17, Knights Templar, Plainfield, New Jersey. Automobile Club of Maryland, Baltimore. The Netherlands America Foundation. New Jersey Society of the Orders of Founders and Patriots of America. The New Jersey Society Sons of the American Revolution. The Sons of the Revolution. The Society of Colonial Wars in the state of New Jersey. So this one, the Holland Society. Oh, by the way, the Dutch from Holland, they're part of the whole, they're the leadership within this whole Jesuit order society.
Well,
Jacobin
yeah, it was
society.
it was a takeover. It was a takeover. The Netherlands, after the Reformation, the Netherlands went hard for Jesus Christ and the Reformation of Christendom, and it was a high priority. Just like England, it was a high priority for the Jesuits and for Rome to take back the Netherlands and England, and they did. And as a result, one of their most recent superior generals, I don't remember which number he is, Peter Hans Kolvenbach, was Dutch and spent his time in Lebanon conducting things like the mass murder of the Marines there in Beirut, as well as setting the stage for the global war on terror, Peter Hans Kolvenbach. So,
meanwhile, the Reformed churches are the worst of them all.
I think completely taken over. Completely taken over. That's what you get for organized religion. There is no, you're not going to get anything out of organized religion. Couple of things before you go is that I wanted to share with you. I found it interesting that Joshua Huddy was lynched. I found it very it was unusual and unprofessional that basically British irregulars, loyalists, were the ones that stormed into his fort and delivered him to the British, which he should have been under rule of law. And then the British gave him back to the loyalists, where he was lynched without a due process. So I find that interesting.
And it gets worse, is that it wasn't being allowed for that to go by, because this was a war hero who they wouldn't have gotten the deal unless they fought the fight. You know what I mean? It wasn't the Federalists who fought the fight. Those were the politicians. You know,
right. For instance, our CIA hero, Yale's Nathan Hale, was hung with a due process, being that he was a spy and he was conducting operations in civilian clothing, and therefore he would be executed.
So the deal that Washington then cut with the people in Staten Island, who were the Dutch Knights Templar people, were, okay, here was the deal. You're going to go to a Freemason lodge in Bergen County, and the 70 of you are going to get together, and you're going to pull straws as to who is going to take the blame for the killing of Joshua Huddy. The guy who gets thrown in jail from that was the deal, was he was going to go to jail, gets to go to jail in Staten Island. The people who were the Huddy people in Monmouth County go in the middle of the night, jump over the river, break him out of jail, and bring him to Monmouth County and kill him, hang him, or shoot him. And so...
Oh, so Washington was behind. So while he was in British custody, he had the protections of the rule of law. And so Washington did a dirty deal with these loyalists to So there was supposed to be. They said we need him for a prisoner exchange, and that's why the British released him out of their custody. And there was no prisoner exchange. There was just his assassination, his murder. And you're saying George Washington was behind these British irregulars, these loyalists that did that?
You know who Lafayette is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
Good Catholic Frenchman.
I want you to understand what happened here. 20 years before we even knew who George Washington was, George Washington, much like Obama, was being groomed
Yes.
for a role.
So everybody poops themselves over how he was a teenager and he wrote this brilliant book on etiquette. All he did was copied a book of etiquette written by French Jesuits. Now,
all bullshit,
is
folks?
Yeah, who is feeding him? Who is creating this? How many portraits of there are George Washington with him with his hand up his coat, right, Mr. Freemason hitting hand. Meanwhile, go ahead.
You know the George Washington Freemason Memorial, right? You've seen it? Go look it up online. Wait till you see. Put it on the screen, please.
Well, what? I'm sure it's related to him setting the cornerstone on the.
No, but that's a great story. And by the way, they stole the original one, and they stole all the Freemason rocks and put them in all the lodges around the country. So George Mason Freemasonic Memorial. Wait till you're about to be mind blown, people. Holy smoke. Look at the size of this thing. What is going on, folks? What? So everybody go watch my first show, 1776 and the Illuminati Deception.
Yeah, so meanwhile, I've got guys like Eric Phelps screaming, "Oh, George Washington was a non-practicing Mason. It was this foundation of his life."
Nope. And that's what makes this all so hard, folks, is that how can we possibly think Trump is free of all this?
Oh, my goodness, please.
He can't possibly be. So
he's
the
thoroughly. So
question
listen, there's a journalist named Wayne Madsen who's a little bit wacky. He's far left. He's been on the Alex Jones show, but he has a paywalled blog and website. He did a single report that I found a copy of, where he says that Donald Trump has paid $30 million to 6 different families for 3 boys and 3 girls that he raped and assaulted. Children. So he paid them off a total of $30 million. And surprise, surprise, you're really hard to get this Wayne Madsen report. But this is how compromised these people are, okay? You've got leaks of Joe Biden's, Joe Biden's son having sex and drugs meltdowns. Where do you think that started from? Martin Sheen, who took his stage name, what's his name? Estevez.
Emilio.
No, that's his name. Esteban. I don't know his first name. I can't remember his first name.
Emilio Estevez.
That's his son. I can't remember Martin Sheen's original name.
He's Jewish.
Yeah, not even close. He is Spanish Roman Catholic.
Yeah, but a Jewish last name.
Estevez is in no way Jewish, dude. What are you doing?
No, the original name, right?
Not even close. Estevez is Spanish Roman Catholic, and his stage name he took from Fulton J. Sheen. He's as Catholic, he's as hyper devout Roman Catholic as it gets. And I was going to lead into Charlie Sheen having his total breakdowns of hookers
he's MK Ultra'd up the wazoo.
Absolutely. Where does it happen? Same thing with Tiger Woods and his orgy breakdowns.
You know who he's dating? Guess who Tiger Woods is dating? Probably going to marry.
I don't know. Another blonde, another white woman.
A white blonde, but you're not going to believe who it is. It's insane, people. Donald Trump Jr.'s ex-wife.
Okay. All right. That makes perfect sense.
Is this crazy?
It's all connected. No, that's not by accident. It's all connected to the CIA, the Jesuits, sexual trauma-based mind control. It's all connected.
Absolutely.
Okay?
And it goes back to you and I were truly, we have been MK Ultra'd our whole life. Now they're just doing it in our homes through the internet. But when we were all little kids, they were all testing us. Do you remember when you were a little kid, they were making you do these blot tests, ink blot tests and stuff? Because I do often. And why were they doing that shit? They were trying to say that we had psychological problems. Get out of here. I wanted to have a good time and be with my buddies and you know, go hang out outside, smoke pot or whatever. You know what I'm saying? There wasn't things that would call out to offer special help. It was, yeah, I wasn't interested in what they were saying because they were saying lies, and somehow I knew it. You know, history was my worst class. Now it's the thing I'm most interested in. And it's because every single thing I look at, I find the lie.
We're trained to be slaves. We're trained to have our critical thinking and our creativity crushed by education, as well as being jammed full of toxins and viruses.
In our next show,
vaccines rather.
In our next show, you know what we're going to do? We're going to prove that every single big fire and every single pandemic was created. Every single one of them. And I can prove it on every single one. And just to make it easy for you guys, go look at the London fire and see what ended.
No, the Chicago fire for sure. The Chicago fire for sure, yeah.
The moment the London fire ended, what was going on in London that completely disappeared? It's the Black Plague. What? Wait a second. So all the news was about the Black Plague, everybody dying, and then suddenly the whole entire city gets burned and there's no more Black Plague.
Let me tell you something. So I was just going to share this process with you in a completely unrelated issue. That what they do is they 1-2 punch false flags. They'll do their main false flag, and then they'll follow it with another false flag as their exit strategy. For instance, the Russia-Ukraine wag the dog silly war was their exit strategy for the scamdemic. I was going to share with you, this was been in my notes for the past hour. I was going to share with you the anthrax letters was the false flag to exit out of 9/11.
Absolutely.
There was a guy that they had framed for it out of Fort Detrick in Maryland, Bruce Ivins. And the FBI murdered him. They killed him. They got him to commit suicide. The FBI pressured him, stressed him, and eventually he crumbled and committed suicide because he just couldn't handle and this was by design. By design. They knew they could do this. And then the next suspect, unfortunately, Bruce Ivins didn't have any safety net. He didn't have friends, family, wife, kids that would protect him, that would encourage him to take a stand. And so they knew exactly. They targeted him and had him killed. And I was talking about what happened to your friend reminded me of this tactic of theirs. And so the 1-2 punch. Okay, so I will put that down. The exit strategy of the Black Plague. Black Plague was a false flag. And the exit strategy was the fire.
Yep, 100%. And here's the other fire that you'll know once you dig. It's called the Triangle Fire in New York. Guess what? The reason they did that fire. The reason they did that fire was to bring the labor unions. Go look it up. 100%. The people who own the building shackled the exit doors. They were Jewish Freemasons. And the reason I found this was because Jesus told me, because I have a connection to the people who died in it. And I didn't know it. But my family is from Lower Manhattan, where that building is. And I never knew. There's no definitive connection, but there is a probable connection based upon everything else that you know, is that, listen, we're not to sound crazy, but we're all essentially bloodline people, all of us.
Oh, everybody goes back to Noah, sure.
7 degrees of separation.
Sure.
We are all bloodline people in one way, shape, or form.
Sure. Everybody goes back to Noah, and Noah goes back to Adam. So sure, of course we are.
So let's leave it at that for today.
All right, listen. Send me. How do I? You gave us Brockett. Did you want to go public with that, or is that your actual last name?
No, I won't reveal my last name yet.
Okay.
And the reason why I won't is because, quite honestly, if the powers that be, who nobody was more Trump but me.
I'll just call you Chosen Kingdom, Mark, for now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And send me. Listen to me. Send me any links that you want in the about. All right. Send me your Rumble or your any social network. Send me email. Send it to me an email. We're connected with email, right? Yeah.
Yep. And then for everybody that's looking, if you go to the magiparty.com or .org, that was what I had set up to do, sort of grassroots stuff. You'll see what it is when you go there. But the second to last page on it has files from my database from years ago of everything that the FBI should have been releasing all along. And it's been up on my website forever. It's free for download. I don't collect any data on people. I'll be putting more stuff up on there because I have an enormous database that one day, Johnny, you and I are going to be a database for other people to learn what actually happened here. We've actually made history by recording it in real time. Quite honestly,
we're doing the best we can. We're doing the best we can. I want more than just an information legacy. I want a revolution legacy, but that's not up to me. That's up to him. Yeah, so, all right. I've been ignoring. I apologize. I've been ignoring the chat. Much love to everybody in the chat. Joao, some great points. Absolutely. In relation to Cecilia Calvert, Maryland. And from Protestant England, from the Protestant king, he was sent to create a colony by Catholics for Catholics. And what is the White House named? Is the White House named after its color? No, it's named after Jesuit Father Andrew White. So, love all you guys, Mr. Alex. Good to see you in the chat. Bull, thanks for having my back. London Steve was there. Good, appreciate all of each and every one of you. And all right, so. We'll see.
Awesome
We'll
getting to talk.
Stay in touch. Yeah, I didn't expect it to. I didn't want to cut it off either. I didn't expect it to go almost 4 hours, 3 hours and 40 minutes. But
we're gonna have to get my system to make cuts, and I'll send them back to you. I have a special program that'll make the things and put the wording on it.
Yeah, happy to do it.
So
happy to do that. Good. Yeah, that's something that I lack. I lack the ability. I normally do like 2-hour shows. People say, "Oh, Johnny, you need that hard and fast 2-minute, 3-minute clips." Yeah, I don't have the time for all that editing. I can't do that. I would love to do it if I had the time.
The computer does it for you. I'm going to show it to you.
Yeah, good. Okay, yeah.
Talk to you later, Johnny.
All right, man. Appreciate you, brother. Talk to you soon.
Bye.